Hello and a very warm welcome to Front Page, only on the AIM Network, India's definitive media organization and voice on everything AI and technology. How are you doing? Truly a pleasure to have you all with us. But before we get into the headlines and what follows are, of course, the front page stories, here is something which gives me true joy to bring to your attention, which is the fact that Cypher, India's biggest AI summit and expo, is back in its 10th edition, which makes it bigger than ever. It shall take place in October of this year. The venue is KTPO Bengaluru. And if you're very serious about your AI and tech, which I know you are, yes, then I guess you will be at Cypher 2026. And now, here are the headlines. India launched its first White Rabbit precision timing network in Bengaluru under the One Nation, One Time initiative, using CERN-grade sub-nanosecond technology to secure banking, telecom and power grids while reducing dependence on foreign timing sources. IndiGo has signed an MOU with CFM International for more than 1,000 LEAP 1A engines to power 510 Airbus A320neo family aircrafts, alongside building a dedicated engine maintenance facility in India. India will launch its Mumbai-Ahmedabad bullet train corridor in 2027 using the indigenous B-28 train after Japan's next generation E-10 Shinkansen faced delays to the early 2030s, with India also opting for European ETCS signaling over Japanese technology. Samsung Electronics has set up a new robotics division, RX, reporting directly to its CEO as the company moves to make robotics a core future growth engine. Utho Cloud founder Manoj Dhanda will join me exclusively on Front Page to discuss stopping India's $12 billion foreign cloud drain, deploying 10,000 GPUs at 60% below hyperscaler rates, DPDP compliance, and building indigenous sovereign AI compute. Now, every stock trade on the NSE, every UPI payment, mobile call we make today depends on one invisible assumption, that all systems agree on exactly what time it is, down to the nanosecond. Right now, most of that agreement comes from GPS satellites operated by the United States. But today, India commissioned a demonstration network to change that using precision timing technology originally built for the Large Hadron Collider at CERN. Union Minister Prahlad Joshi launched the network at the Regional Reference Standard Laboratory in Bengaluru, a joint project between the Department of Consumer Affairs, CSIR, National Physical Laboratory and ISRO. Well, the system distributes Indian Standard Time traceable directly to the National Timekeeping Authority, UTC NPLI, using precision time protocol-based White Rabbit technology. Now, White Rabbit was developed at CERN, which is the Conseil Européen pour la Recherche Nucléaire, the European Organization for the Nuclear Research. Now, before I get into the further fabulous details of this particular story, I would request you to please like, share, subscribe. Truly motivates us. Like this particular development. Thank you so much for your support. Of course, this was done to synchronize equipment inside the Large Hadron Collider, where particles circulate over 11,000 times every second. It is an Ethernet-based protocol offering sub-nanosecond accuracy, precision down to a few picoseconds. India is now deploying that same particle physics-grade timing technology across banking, telecommunications, power grids, transportation, and digital governance. Now, the system was verified before launch, working with CSIR, NPL, ISRO, SEBI, the National Stock Exchange, and BSNL. Now, the team transmitted secure time signals between the Bengaluru laboratory and NSC's Chennai facility. High-frequency trading, banking transactions, and telecom networks depend on precise, trustworthy timestamps, as is crucial to the industry. Now, if that timing signal comes from a compromised or foreign-controlled source, trade sequencing, transaction records, and illegal timestamps can all be manipulated. It's quite dangerous. Joshi's own thought on this: the indigenous system will bolster consumer protection, support fair trade, strengthen cyber resilience, and improve reliability across financial markets, telecom, and power systems. Now, this demonstration network resides inside India's broader Indian Standard Time dissemination project, the One Nation, One Time initiative. Now, 2 days before the launch, Joshi visited ISRO's Bengaluru headquarters to review progress on the wider rollout. Department of Consumer Affairs Secretary Nidhi Khare tied it to legal metrology reforms underway simultaneously, framing the combination as a foundation for consumer confidence and India's digital transformation. Well done. Now, the stated goal is this: reduce India's dependence on foreign timing sources and establish the country among global leaders in precision time dissemination. Now, here comes the front page take. Now, the Large Hadron Collider needed its equipment to agree on time down to a few picoseconds because, well, particles were moving at near the speed of light. India's financial markets need the same precision because milliseconds separate a valid trade from a manipulated one. Now, the technology is the same. What is different is actually the strategic reason for building it. A country that depends on foreign satellites for its financial timestamps is a country that has handed a meaningful piece of its economic sovereignty to someone else's infrastructure. Now, today's demonstration network is the opening argument that India can own that layer. The One Nation, One Time rollout is when the argument becomes fact. And well, what also becomes fact are your wonderful thoughts on this particular developments in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the IIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. India's aviation boom went for the record books at one of the world's biggest air shows. Well, before we move on, as far as that wonderful development goes, you can, of course, go ahead and have a record of your own by breaching the 500,000 follower mark on Front Page. How you can do that? Well, you're excited, aren't you? So am I. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for your kind support. Now, at the Farnborough International Air Show, India's largest airline, IndiGo, signed a memorandum of understanding with CFM International for more than 1,000 LEAP-1A engines. It's actually the single largest order CFM has ever booked. Now, the order brings engines to power 510 Airbus A320 Neo family aircraft. Each of those planes needs 2 LEAP-1A engines plus spares, which is actually how a single deal adds up to over 1,000 turbofans. Now, beyond the hardware, the MOU also commits CFM to helping IndiGo build its own dedicated engine maintenance, repair, and overhaul facility in India. Now, alongside, there is a long-term material services agreement covering spare parts aimed at keeping dispatch reliability high as the fleet grows. Although, this isn't a new relationship. IndiGo first flew CFM engines back in 2016, powering its A320 fleet with CFM 56-5B engines. In 2019, it deepened that partnership, choosing LEAP-1A engines for its A320 Neo family jets. Now, this deal extends a 10-year relationship into what's now CFM's biggest single commitment from any customer. The airline carried more than 123 million passengers in the last fiscal year alone. The deal was signed by Willie Walsh, IndiGo's incoming CEO, reportedly his first major industry appearance since being named to the role. Now, Walsh said the LEAP engine's proven reliability made it the right choice to support IndiGo's scale and operational resilience as the airline works towards becoming a global carrier. IndiGo is also, by the way, inducting 60 Airbus A350 wide-body jets starting in 2027, which is aimed squarely at international expansion. Now, this deal also underlines how India is now CFM's third largest market worldwide. 5 Indian carriers already fly more than 400 LEAP-powered aircraft, with roughly 2,000 engines already on order in the country before this deal. Here, of course, is the front page take. An order this size is, well, we believe a statement that Indian air travel keeps growing fast enough to fill more jets. On top of everything, IndiGo already flies. Through this growth move, IndiGo is trying to insulate itself from the engine availability and maintenance backlogs that have actually plagued airlines worldwide in the recent years. So here's the question, as always, to all of you. Is this order a sign that India's aviation market has genuinely matured into one of the world's biggest growth engines? No pun intended there, by the way. Or is IndiGo making a very large bet on demand that still has to show up? Please do let us know. What are your thoughts in the comments below? This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the IM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. In 2015, India and Japan signed one of the most celebrated infrastructure agreements in recent history. Japan would supply the Shinkansen, India would build the corridor. Now, 10 years later, Japan's next generation E10 Shinkansen will not be ready before the early 2030s. India's first corridor section is targeted to open in 2027. The math, as you can probably observe, did not align. And India has made a decision that changes the original mandate entirely. But before we move on, I'd really request you to like, share, subscribe. We can build our own corridor. Yeah, the Front Page corridor. Well, truly, thank you for all of your support. Now, India and Japan have agreed that the Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed rail corridor will begin operations using an indigenous high-speed train, the B28, jointly developed by BEML Limited and the Integral Coach Factory. Now, the B28 is being manufactured at a dedicated facility named Aditya in Bengaluru, inaugurated by Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav in April. Now, the prototype is expected in early 2027 with trial operations on the Mumbai-Ahmedabad corridor by August. Once fully operational, travel time between the two cities drops to 1 hour and 58 minutes. Now, the Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Randhir Jaswal was cautious with how things were framed. Discussions between India and Japan have been positive, for sure. Japan will still supply the E10 series in the early 2030s, once construction and testing catch up. Now, both countries have agreed to begin with Indian trains before transitioning to Japan's next generation Shinkansen fleet. Now, that is the official position. Sequencing, not a break. Delhi-based railway consultant Isao Sujimura, writing in Yahoo News Japan, argued the project had gradually actually deviated from the original Shinkansen model agreed upon in 2015. Railway engineer Hideki Makihara, who worked on the project previously, separately raised doubts about India's evolving technical requirements. Both flagged the same decision: India's reported adoption of the European Train Control System, ETCS Level 2, instead of Japan's proprietary DSATC signaling system. Now, Makihara said the project had been delayed by repeated changes in policy and procurement, and that the original structure of India-Japan cooperation had itself gone through a change. The signaling choice is worth understanding. So let me try to shed light on the same. ETCS, which is the European Train Control System Level 2, is an internationally adopted standard that any rolling stock manufacturer can design for. Japan's DSATC is proprietary. India choosing the former over the latter means the B28, and whatever comes after it can run on infrastructure that does not require a Japanese vendor to maintain or update it. Well, that is a different kind of project from the one both governments signed in 2015. And the Japanese engineers raising concerns are pointing at exactly that very difference, not at the train itself. Now, the B28 is the first chapter. Vaishnav has confirmed design work on a faster successor, which is the B35, targeting 350 kilometers per hour, with that design process beginning within 6 months. Now, the localization strategy behind both trains targets domestic capability in rolling stock, propulsion, and signaling, reducing reliance on any single foreign supplier. Now, a dedicated high-speed rail training institute is also coming up in Vadodara to build the workforce this technology requires. India launched its first hydrogen train built entirely in-house. A proud moment for us. Tata rolled out the first made-in-India military aircraft. Again, I doss my hat to the same. The Mumbai-Ahmedabad corridor now open on Indian technology before the Japanese Shinkansen reaches the platform. Across rail and aerospace, the pattern is consistent, right? Can you see the pattern emerge? When timelines slip, India builds the gap filler rather than, well, wait. The front page take is here. It's not waiting. The 2015 agreement was built on one assumption. Japan's timeline and India's timeline would move together. Well, unfortunately, they did not. India's response was to build a train rather than extend a deadline. The B-28 at 280 kilometers per hour, the B-35 at 350, already, by the way, in design. Now, the Vadodara Training Institute already planned, the ETCS signaling choice already made. Now, whether this is called sequencing or a strategic pivot depends on, well, who is speaking. Now, what is beyond dispute is that India's high-speed rail program will now produce domestic capability it was not originally designed to create. And that capability does not disappear when the E10 Shinkansen eventually arrives. What are your thoughts? Please do let us know in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the IIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. Samsung has now put robotics right next to the CEO's desk. Well, the company has created a new dedicated robotics division that reports directly to its chief executive. And well, what you could do kindly, don't need to report on this, but just go ahead and like, share, subscribe. Truly motivates us on Front Page. Thank you so much for your kind support. Now, the new division is called RX, short for Robotics Experience. Its job is to lead Samsung's long-term robotics strategy, technology development, and business execution. The company is working to turn robotics into a genuine future growth engine. Now, the robots will be deployed at manufacturing sites first, before expanding into home and retail applications down the line. Now, Samsung became the largest shareholder in Rainbow Robotics back in late 2024, specifically to accelerate humanoid robot development. Now, to run the robotics strategy team, Samsung brought in Executive Vice President Lee Dong-kun, who previously led robotics strategy at Hyundai Motor Group. Samsung also plans, by the way, to set up robotics research hubs in the United States, China, and Japan. Now, according to the company, RX division will oversee this mid to long-term strategy expansion, both in South Korea and overseas. Samsung has been signaling this push for quite some time now. Back in January, the company said it expected to deliver, and I quote, tangible, unquote, results its humanoid robotics business this year. Now, in April, Samsung said it was open to investments and acquisitions to speed up robotics development and commercialization, and would work with local companies wherever necessary. And here, of course, is the front page take. Samsung is treating robotics the way it's historically treated chips and memory. It is a business worth building serious organizational muscle around, for sure. The manufacturing first rollout also makes sense as a strategy by proving the technology works on Samsung's own factory floors before ever asking consumer or retailer to trust a humanoid robot in their space. So, well, here's the question I have for all of you. Does Samsung's manufacturing first robotics rollout become the proving ground that gets humanoid robots into homes sooner? Or does that final jump from factory to household remain further away than these announcements ever tend to suggest? Please do let us know. What are your thoughts in the comments below? This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the IIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM.
AI prototypes are everywhere, but very few professionals know how to deploy AI where businesses actually operate. Introducing the Certified Forward Deployed AI Specialist by Adasi, a certification designed for the new generation of AI professionals who can bridge technology, deployment, operations, and business execution in real-world enterprise environments. Because modern AI success is no longer just building models. It's about making AI work inside production systems, customer workflows, and enterprise operations. The future belongs to engineers who can take AI from demo to deployment. This certification is ideal for AI engineers, solutions architects, technical consultants, Gen AI practitioners, developers who want to move beyond experimentation and deploy AI systems that create measurable business impact. The future of AI belongs to professionals who can take intelligence from concept to real-world execution.
There are a lot of models available on Amazon. You can use any model. For this particular workshop, I'll go with Llama 3. It's the simplest, easiest, and in terms of cost, no problem. But yes, if you are an organization, you want to go and work, you can use Anthropic's Cloud model. You can use any of these models. So this is the 2ML file. And what you need, all of you, is you can see there is a Docker file also created. There is a Pi project created. There is requirement. And this is the environment. So this is the app where you have a Pi cache. So this is your cache. Init.py will not have anything, that is for initialization. This is your actual agent script. And then here you have got a README, which you can use automatically running in Docker. And these things come automatically.
You can click on data store. You can click on the tool name. So this is tool 1. It's a data store. You can give the description. Now I'm going with the lowest score in terms of grounding. So we have low confidence that the response is grounded.
AI prototypes are everywhere, but very few professionals know how to deploy AI where businesses actually operate. Introducing the Certified Forward Deployed AI Specialist by Adasi, a certification designed for the new generation of AI professionals who can bridge technology, deployment, operations, and business execution in real-world enterprise environments. Because modern AI success is no longer just building models. It's about making AI work inside production systems, customer workflows, and enterprise operations. The future belongs to engineers who can take AI from demo to deployment. This certification is ideal for AI engineers, solutions architects, technical consultants, Gen AI practitioners, developers who want to move beyond experimentation and deploy AI systems that create measurable business impact. The future of AI belongs to professionals who can take intelligence from concept to real-world execution.
There are a lot of models available on Amazon. You can use any model. For this particular workshop, I'll go with Llama 3. It's the simplest, easiest, and in terms of cost, no problem. But yes, if you are an organization, you want to go and work, you can use Anthropic's Cloud model. You can use any of these models. So this is the 2ML file. And what you need, all of you, is you can see there is a Docker file also created. There is a Pi project created. There is requirement, and this is the environment. So just this is the app where you have a Pi cache. So this is your cache. Init.py will not have anything, that is for initialization. This is your actual agent script. And then here you have got a README, which you can use automatically running in Docker. And these things come automatically.
You can click on data store. You can click on the tool name. So this is tool 1. It's a data store. You can give the description. Now I'm going with the lowest score in terms of grounding. So we have low confidence that the response is grounded.
Now, India spends approximately $12 billion every year on foreign cloud services. That number goes up every time an Indian enterprise trains a model on AWS, runs inference on Azure, or stores regulated customer data on Google Cloud. Now, the India AI mission is subsidizing GPU access at 67 rupees per hour to build sovereign AI capability. The DPDP Act carries penalties of 250 crore rupees for data governance failures. Now, the government is pulling compute into India through policy and subsidy, for sure, while $12 billion in cloud spend flows out annually to infrastructure India does not own. Utho Cloud has committed 10,000 enterprise GPUs this quarter, H200, H100, A100, RTX Pro 6000 Blackwell and L4 at up to 60% below hyperscaler pricing with full customer IP ownership and data residency within India. Manoj Dhanda built India's first indigenous public cloud platform, and truly it's a pleasure to have him join me exclusively on Front Page today for a discussion which I believe is front and center in everyone's mind, which is of course sovereignty and beyond. Welcome to Front Page. How are you doing, Manoj? Pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Sudhi. Amazing to be with you having this interview. I believe dream comes true. When we launched it in 2016, we see a dream that people will start moving their infrastructure from global players to
I'm
Indian.
so sorry, Manoj. I just give me a second. I can't hear you. Just can you?
Sure.
Yeah, now I can. Thank you.
Now you okay?
Yeah. Sorry.
Just a minute.
Yeah. It's fine now.
Now it's better.
Yeah,
okay.
it's perfectly fine.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I think its dream comes true. I would say in 2016 we saw a dream that why we not build the technology in India, why we should rent from the West. And after 2 years we launched in 2018. And I believe what we are talking here is now the flipping the game. Why
Beautiful.
India should not build in India, should not have it from the India. So that's why we saw this. We give this commitment to have 10,000 GPUs in our ecosystem, so that the kind of speed Indian market is now having to building AI infrastructure is massive. And people need the infrastructure on the time, and with the time, make sure the cost effective. So we focused on these two things. And then the main thing that people should have the data here in their control.
Absolutely. Manoj, reason kya tha? What was the overall motivation? For example, you just mentioned 2016, then 2018 the company launched, and today you're standing at a position which is of a lot of strength, jahan pe aap commit kar rahe hain 10,000 GPUs. But was this some sort of a foresight that you had that compute capacity, generally speaking, will be in a state of flux? As we know, shortage bahut hai as far as compute capacity is concerned. Or were there other reasons as well that motivated this decision? And also, why the name Utho Cloud? I found it very interesting.
So I'll start with the name of Utho Cloud.
Right.
ये कैसे पड़ा?
हाँ.
So हमने 2018 में लॉन्च किया, 2020-21 तक सब कुछ हुआ, पैसा आ गया, हर चीज आ गया, सिस्टम्स लग गए, एवरीथिंग वेयर ऑन ऑटोमेशन. एंड देन मैं बेसिकली एक चीज से ड्राइव करता हूँ, व्हाट नेक्स्ट. एंड व्हाट नेक्स्ट ढूंढने के लिए आई फिगर आउट, आई डिड कपल ऑफ इंटरव्यूज विद द कस्टमर्स who are using these hyperscalers, and then figure out what exactly they need. Why I did that? Because we were able to offer the reliability, we were able to offer the uptime, we were able to offer the cost effectiveness. अब ये था कि अब क्या किया जाए. तो अब जब देखा कि पूरा का पूरा डेटा सब लोग बाकी क्लाउड प्रोवाइडर्स के ऊपर चला रहे हैं, क्यों इंडिया में नहीं आ पा रहे, जबकि इंडिया में हम आ रहे हैं, बाकी और प्रोवाइडर्स भी आ रहे हैं, फिर भी क्यों नहीं आ पा रहे. एंड देन जब बात की उन लोगों से, वो पेन समझा. तो नॉर्मली होता क्या है ना सुधी, व्हेन यू स्पीक टू एक सीएक्सओ, तो आपको सब कुछ ओपन से नहीं बताता, पेन पीछे होता है.
True.
तो आपको बात करनी पड़ती है.
Could be company policy also, Manoj. Could be so many other reasons, let's say.
एब्सोल्युटली वो होता है. तो अंदर के कंसर्न्स कोई बाहर नहीं बताता, बट हमने डीपली पूछा दैट वी वांट टू सॉल्व दिस प्रॉब्लम, प्लीज लेट अस नो, आपको ऐसा क्या चाहिए, हम ऐसा क्या करें कि आप ग्लोबल प्रोवाइडर से हटके यहाँ पे आ पाओ. सो कुछ आर्किटेक्चर चैलेंजेस थे जो नहीं मिल पा रहे थे किसी भी प्रोवाइडर के पास, उसके ऊपर हम लोगों ने काम किया. माइग्रेशन का सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज था, उसके ऊपर फिर हम लोगों ने काम किया. और जब ये फिगर आउट हो रहा था ना, तब मैंने देखा कि कंफर्ट जोन है, दूसरा एक फियर है कि अगर मैं इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को माइग्रेट करूंगा, वहां से हिलाऊंगा, तो प्रोडक्शन में तो नहीं प्रॉब्लम आ जाए. ट्रू. सो हमने कहा कि शायद हमारे जो लोग हैं वो अभी एक कंफर्ट जोन या एक सेफ्टी नेट के अंदर बैठे हुए हैं. वी शुड से इट उठो. और हमारा उठो उस कंफर्ट जोन से. इफ यू लुक एट आवर लोगो, दैट इज ऑल्सो डिजाइन साइंटिफिकली, तो सबकॉन्शियस माइंड विल कैच इट. इट्स ए सर्कल, एंड देन वो सर्कल से बाहर रॉकेट की स्पीड से निकाल के लेके जा रहा है.
नाइस.
तो उस टाइम हम लोगों ने सोचा कि हम अब कुछ भी होगा, वो रॉकेट की स्पीड से लोगों को उस कंफर्ट जोन से निकालेंगे. उसके बाद हम लोगों ने वो ऑटो माइग्रेशन टूल बनाया, वो पूरा आर्किटेक्चर सेटअप किया, जो उनको एक नेटवर्क आर्किटेक्चर चाहिए था, वो स्टोरेज लेयर चाहिए थी, बेसिकली वो रिलायबिलिटी एंड वो फियर खत्म करने का एक तरीका कि माइग्रेशन है ना, हम लिफ्ट एंड शिफ्ट कराएंगे.
वंडरफुल.
तो इसके साथ ये हमें व्हाट नेक्स्ट मिल गया. दूसरा जब व्हाट नेक्स्ट मिला, तो वहां पे ये था कि नाम जो था माइक्रो होस्ट था वो कहीं इंडियन लगता नहीं था, और मुझे ये था कि मुझे अभी इंडियन बिजनेसेस को सपोर्ट करना है।
नाइस।
तो मेरे को है ना नाम भी देसी चाहिए, नाम मुझे इस देश का चाहिए। सो इससे बेटर वर्ड मुझे नहीं मिला डिस्क्राइब करने के लिए।
नहीं, एंड बहुत अच्छा है, बिकॉज आई मीन इट्स बैक्ड बाय अ क्लियर फिलॉसफी एंड यू ऑब्वियसली हैव इम्प्लीमेंटेड इट physically as well through the design etc. So I'm sure there would have been a lot of passion that drove that particular decision. But Manoj, अभी आप जब बात कर रहे थे तो मेरे जहन में ये बात आई कि बहुत से जैसे कस्टमर्स के पास आप गए, they were using hyperscalers. Now these are global companies, I'm presuming that they were using. तो एक और mindset की भी बात आती है. How did you overcome that, or how did you break that? For example, mindset. What I mean by that is this, Manoj, कि बहुत बारी होता है कि यार wait a minute, that is a global giant, वो लोग बहुत समय से हैं इस फील्ड में, शायद उनका एक्सपीरियंस बेहतर है, शायद you know all of those reliability factors, security aspects शायद बेहतर है उनका, ये एक नई कंपनी है, इंडियन कंपनी है, ये शायद उतना नहीं जानती, तो क्या हम ठीक डिसीजन ले रहे हैं कि हम इनके साथ जाएंगे, क्योंकि अगर कुछ गड़बड़ी हुई तो फिर शायद हमारी नौकरी पे बात आ जाएगी. यू गेट वेयर आई एम कमिंग फ्रॉम?
ओह एब्सोल्युटली, एंड आई थिंक यही एक सबसे बड़ा बैरियर था, और इनमें बोलूंगा फियर भी था कि नौकरी ना चली जाए. एक सबसे बड़ा फियर ये रहता है कि यार लाइफ ठीक चल रही है, सही चल रहा है सारा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, मैं क्यों रिस्क लूं?
करेक्ट
है ना. एवन दो लोगों ने, ऐसे भी लोग हमें इस दौरान मिले इस जर्नी में जिन्होंने ये बोला कि भाई ठीक है, तू बात करता होगा देश की, तू बात करता होगा भारत की, मेरा है ना इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर चल रहा है और मेरे है ना कस्टमर इस पे चलते हैं.
Correct.
हमें है ना जो रेवेन्यू आता है इस इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के थ्रू आता है, मैं उसको रिस्क में नहीं डाल सकता.
ट्रू.
तो ये तक भी बातें हुई. एब्सोल्युटली. और वो हम लोगों ने समझा, एंड जब हम लोगों ने वो समझा, हमने कहा क्या कर सकते हैं इसका. तो उन्हीं लोगों ने बताया कि जब हम फेल हो रहे थे इसके अंदर कि यार नहीं हो रहा है कुछ, क्यों नहीं लोग आ रहे अभी, अब तो हमने वो चीज भी कर दी. देन पीपल स्टार्ट सेइंग कि आप है ना हमें पीओसी दे दो, लेट मी ट्राई इट. एंड फिर हम लोगों ने पीओसी देना शुरू किया. तो लोगों ने स्टेजिंग इन्वायरमेंट डालना शुरू किया. जब स्टेजिंग इन्वायरमेंट डालते हैं, सब कुछ स्मूथ चलता है, तो वो ट्रस्ट बनता है. स्टार्टिंग के 6 महीने वाज सुपर डिफिकल्ट. इट वाज ए कंप्लीट फेलियर. मतलब आप समझिए, लोग आ रहे हैं और वापस जा रहे हैं. वो कह रहे हैं कि नहीं चलेगा. बिल्कुल. बट उसने सिखाया हमें, उसने बताया हमें कि कैसे इंप्रूव करना है, कौन सी चीज है जो हमें लगता था कि हमने इस तरीके से बना दी, बट लोगों को उस तरीके से नहीं चाहिए उसको. वो एक तरीके से फेलियर बन गया वहां पे. बट वो कहते हैं ना, जब आप कस्टमर को सुनते हो तो वो कस्टमर फिर खुद आपकी वो सारी चीजें ठीक करा देता है और वो सब बना देता है. क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं प्रॉब्लम तो वहां भी चल रही है. हमने ऐसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन देखी जहां पे फायरिंग चल रही थी, प्रोजेक्ट क्लोज हो गए थे, एंड पीपल लिटरली क्राइंग आफ्टर माइग्रेशन कि मेरे पास 2 महीने का टाइम था, अगर मैं 2 महीने तक ये माइग्रेशन नहीं करता, इस कॉस्ट को कट नहीं करता, तो जो इंसान मेरे साथ पिछले 12 साल से बैठ के काम कर रहा है उसकी नौकरी जा रही थी. तो ये स्टोरी भी कहीं ना कहीं फिर हमें ड्राइव करती है कि यार हमें बहुत बार ऐसा पता नहीं होता कि क्या इम्पैक्ट हो रहा है पीछे से. इम्पैक्ट बहुत बड़ा होता है कहीं ना कहीं.
Agreed. Fair enough.
तो मोटा मोटी वो पीओसी अगर मैं बोलूं, उसने हेल्प किया, उसने ट्रस्ट जगाया. एंड देन पीपल वे सेइंग कि ठीक है, अब हम ऐसा जरूर नहीं है कि हम ये नहीं सोचेंगे कि वो मल्टीनेशनल है, वहां पे ये नहीं है. अभी भी हम ये बोलते हैं कि व्हेन यू लॉन्च समथिंग, व्हेन यू डू समथिंग, अगर आपको लगता है टेक्नोलॉजी बहुत फास्ट वहां डेवलप हो रही है, आप यूज कर लीजिए, बट एक डिसीजन ले लीजिए कि आपको वहां कौन सा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डालना है अभी. क्योंकि 2 महीने 4 महीने के बाद वो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर यहाँ पे भी डाल पाएंगे. हो सकता है दे हैव मैसिव मनी, तो वो जल्दी सब कुछ लेके आएंगे बेस्ड ऑन द डिमांड. आप क्रिएट कीजिए, आप पीछे मत रहिए, इट्स ओके. बट हम विल मेक श्योर कि हम 4-6 महीने के अंदर वो सेम इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, वो सेम प्लेटफॉर्म आपको यहाँ पे दे दें, ताकि आप उस क्रिटिकल डेटा को वापस से अपने घर लेके आ जाओ.
Which is wonderfully encouraging and being very transparent, I think, Manoj. And I think that approach is so important. Do you agree with me on that?
Absolutely.
Fair enough. Which then brings me to this point. H200, H100, A100, RTX Pro 6000 Blackwell, L4. Full customer IP ownership, as I had mentioned a little while back. Now, this is all data residency within India. प्लीज मुझे समझाएं, what 10,000 GPUs at 60% below hyperscaler rates का मतलब क्या है for an Indian enterprise, and how has that been paying AWS or Azure prices? एक इंसान already pay कर रहा है. What does it change about what they can now, with this kind of a price advantage, what they can actually start to build?
एब्सोल्युटली. सो अगर हम देखें जितने भी हाइपर स्केलर्स हैं, हम लोगों ने जब स्टार्टिंग में चैलेंज आया था ना कि वो ये वाला सिक्योरिटी देता है, उनके पास ऐसे डेटा सेंटर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है, स्टार्टिंग के टाइम में व्हाट वी फिगर आउट कि ओके व्हाट डेटा सेंटर दे आर यूजिंग, आर दे बिल्डिंग देयर ओन और दे आर रेंटिंग आउट फ्रॉम द इंडियन कंपनीज. देन वी फिगर आउट दे आर यूजिंग टायर 3 टायर 4 डेटा सेंटर्स.
Okay.
And we tied up with them, we provide that reliability. And then if you talk about the difference between the hyperscalers and us, कि लोग वहां से 60% ज्यादा पे कर रहे हैं आज के टाइम में. 60% बहुत छोटा नंबर बता रहा हूँ सुधी में. अगर आप
60% honestly सुन के
बहुत छोटा नंबर बता रहा हूँ. हाँ, बट वो बहुत छोटा नंबर है. अगर आप देखेंगे बहुत में तो 90% ज्यादा कॉस्ट है एज कम्पेयर टू जो हम लोग दे पा रहे हैं. अगर आप जीपीयू के सेगमेंट को समझें तो आप देखेंगे जीपीयू के अंदर बहुत ज्यादा टेक्नोलॉजी की हाथ नहीं है. जीपीयू इज लाइक किसी को बाय करना है तो वो जीपीयू मशीन लेगा, जीपीयू वीएम लेगा एंड देन इन्फ्रेंसिंग करेगा या ट्रेनिंग करेगा. ठीक है.
करेक्ट.
तो अगर हम कंपेयर करें एप्पल टू एप्पल तो उसमें क्या है, सेम डेटा सेंटर बिल्डिंग है, सेम या वो नोएडा में है, बैंगलोर है या मुंबई है. लाइक वी हैव 3 रीजन्स. आपका जो एनवीडिया जीपीयूज हैं, इट इज नॉट लाइक कि वो लोग एनवीडिया जीपीयू दे रहे हैं, हम एनवीडिया की जगह कुछ और दे रहे हैं. सो इट्स सेम मॉडल, सेम बिल्डिंग, सेम पावर के ऊपर रन हो रहा है, सेम इंडियन डेटा सेंटर्स के अंदर रन हो रहा है. फर्क सिर्फ इतना है कि वो जो ग्लोबल टैक्स है ना वो हम नहीं लगा रहे हैं कि भैया वी वर द फर्स्ट मूवर, हमने इंडस्ट्री बनाई, अब हमने इंडस्ट्री बना दी तो हम तो लूटेंगे. वो नहीं है अपने यहाँ पे. हमने कहा नहीं भाई, हम ऐसा नहीं करेंगे, अभी टाइम है. एक चीज आपने देखी होगी सुधी, जब भी नई टेक्नोलॉजी आती है, सो नई टेक्नोलॉजी जब आती है तो उसमें टाइम लगता है अडॉप्ट करने में.
करेक्ट.
और अगर वो अडॉप्ट हो जाती है तो उसकी कॉस्ट कम होती है उसके बाद.
श्योर.
हमने कहा स्टार्टिंग से कॉस्ट कम क्यों नहीं होनी चाहिए? क्यों ना ज्यादा से ज्यादा पीपल अडॉप्ट करें?
दैट्स अ गुड क्वेश्चन टू आस्क.
क्यों कॉस्ट को बैरियर बना के रखा जाए? अगर आप जीपीयू की कॉस्ट किसी से भी सुनेंगे, लोग बोलेंगे कि यार बहुत ज्यादा हो गया है, डिफिकल्ट हो गया है मैनेज करना. मतलब अगर किसी ने ड्रीम देखा है कि मैं 6 महीने के अंदर ये काम कर दूंगा, और अगर कॉस्ट आप समझिए कि अगर 2 महीने और निकालने होंगे उस पर्टिकुलर स्टार्टअप या एक इंटरप्राइज की भी बात करो, पैसा हर जगह मैटर करता है. मैंने ये देखा है. पहले मुझे ऐसा लगता था कि सिर्फ स्टार्टअप में ज्यादा पैसा मैटर करता है. अब मुझे ये पता चल रहा है कि इंटरप्राइजेस में और भी ज्यादा मैटर करता है. तो वो प्रोजेक्ट पे जो 6 महीने से लोग काम कर रहे हैं, अब उसका कॉस्ट इतना जा रहा है, हो सकता है रिजल्ट आने ही वाला था कि कॉस्ट की वजह से प्रोजेक्ट बंद करना पड़ जाए. तो आई वांट कि ये ना हो, ये ना करना पड़े. और क्यों हमें कंट्रोल देना है?
लेट्स बी ऑनेस्ट, आप भी कोई यहाँ पे चैरिटी तो कर नहीं रहे. यू आर ऑल्सो गोइंग अहेड एंड मेकिंग अ प्रॉफिट, बट बाय गॉड दैट्स अ ह्यूज गैप. 90%, 60%. So, I mean, it just kind of, wakes you up to a reality that one, there is a compute capacity shortage है, उसके ऊपर आप उसका भी advantage लेके like you said, global tax charge कर रहे हैं, तो वो तो cripple कर रहा है ना चीजों को.
Absolutely, और वही हो रहा है. बट अभी आई एम सुपर हैप्पी टू से कि लोग समझना शुरू कर दिए हैं. सुधी, हमें जो 4-5 साल पहले कस्टमर्स मिलते थे जो रिजिड होते थे कि नहीं यार नहीं करना है, नाउ पीपल आर स्टार्टिंग थिंकिंग कि नहीं यार, रियलिटी क्या है, एक बार देख लेते हैं ना उस रियलिटी को, उसको अपना के देख लेते हैं. नहीं चलेगा तो ठीक है, हम सोचेंगे लर्निंग मिल गई है. बट जो अभी यूज केस आ रहे हैं, जो केस स्टडीज बन रही है, तो लोगों को एक टेस्टिमोनी भी मिल रही है कि हाँ अभी करना चाहिए, इट्स ए राइट टाइम. तो लोग वो अभी टैक्स देने के लिए रेडी नहीं है. धीरे धीरे लोग माइग्रेट कर रहे हैं. खासकर अगर इफ यू रिसर्च इन जीपीयू मार्केट, people are moving from hyperscalers and people like me जिसका एक सपना था कि hyperscalers से लोग इंडिया में आने चाहिए, super happy.
Fabulous. So Manoj, it's interesting जो आपने अभी एक point कहा regarding the fact that बहुत से लोग hyperscalers से switch कर रहे हैं they're showing that sense of positivity and the inclination to do it, which is a wonderful thing. मगर एक चीज बताइएगा, what are the hyperscalers strategizing? Because I'm pretty sure they're aware of the fact that you have hit them where it hurts the most, which is the cost factor. But they, I'm pretty sure, have still an advantage. What would be that advantage, and how soon do you think कि आप वो advantage को परास्त कर सकोगे, या बेहतर term for that is धोबी पछाड़ कर सकोगे?
हाँ, तो मुझे लग रहा है hyperscalers are already aware about it, but the kind of customer pool they have the large customer pool who asking, let's say one customer is asking for 2000 GPUs.
Yeah.
So जहाँ पे there is a pool like जिसको 50 GPU या 100 GPU चाहिए, अगर वो नहीं भी आएगा तो उनके लिए चलेगा. They price enough at the top tier कि अगर mid level का कस्टमर नहीं आएगा या इंडिया से मुझे बहुत ज्यादा वर्कलोड नहीं आएगा, it's okay for me.
समझ गया
वो वाली बात, क्योंकि अगर वो प्राइस को कम करके गेम खेलेंगे सस्टेनेबल नहीं होगा उनके लिए. एंड द रीजन इज जो बिग कस्टमर्स हैं वो वही प्राइस दे रहे हैं जो वो मांग रहे हैं.
Why is that?
आगे से
Is because of the fact that they have the capacity to ensure
capacity,
that, right?
One point, capacity, one point. आप देखिए ना, ओपन एआई ने चाहे पार्टनरशिप की हो, चाहे अभी क्लाउड कर रहा हो, सब लोग वही कर रहे हैं. तो एक तरीके से इक्विटी इधर से उधर जाने का गेम चल रहा है.
Which is true.
या तो वही है. तो वो उसके लिए प्राइस कम नहीं करेंगे कभी भी, क्योंकि वो प्राइस कम किया हुआ उनके लिए बहुत कॉस्टली पड़ेगा. तो वो कह रहे हैं कि अगर लोकल प्लेयर्स आ रहे हैं हम नहीं रोक सकते, बट हम क्या कर सकते हैं, हम बड़ा गेम, और जो बड़ा गेम है ना उसके अंदर ही खेलेंगे. हम इस गेम के अंदर अगर अभी छलांग लगाएंगे तो कहीं ना कहीं प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगी उनको. इसीलिए अगर आप देखेंगे तो जो बाहर का प्राइसिंग है और जो इंडिया का प्राइसिंग है किसी भी हाइपर स्केलर्स का, उसमें एक पैसे का डिफरेंस नहीं है, जबकि डिफरेंस होना चाहिए एज पर द इकोनॉमी.
Agreed. Very interesting point.
तो वो नहीं है, तो वो नहीं करेंगे, उसको नहीं हिलाएंगे. ये हमारा एक्सपीरियंस रहा है सीपीयू वाली मार्केट में, उसको हमने ऑब्जर्व किया है. तो जब सीपीयू में अभी तक नहीं किया और 2 डेकेड्स हो गए हैं, तो अब जीपीयू में नहीं करने वाले.
Okay.
कोई चांस नहीं है. Yeah.
So that means,
और
according to you, this is a sustainable business model आपके हिसाब से for the hyperscalers, or is there a way to crack it?
एब्सोल्युटली सस्टेनेबल है, वो उसको छेड़ेंगे भी नहीं. अगर वो उसको क्रैक करने की कोशिश करेंगे दे विल लूज आउट.
अगर आप क्रैक करने की कोशिश करेंगे, because I mean that is what makes the business model sustainable for one person. Fair enough.
Yeah,
but you have to be very aware of the fact that how will the competition probably break you down. That is the question.
So एक ही चीज पे कर सकता है. अगर आप बात कर रहे हैं कि AWS कैसे इसको करेगा, हमने तो क्रैक कर लिया है. और AWS कैसे क्रैक करेगा, AWS कॉस्ट डाउन करके क्रैक कर सकता है, या कोई स्पेसिफिक एक ऐसी कंपोनेंट, एक ऐसा जीपीयू लेट्स से एक्सक्लूसिव एनवीडिया वैसे करेगा नहीं कभी किसी एक प्रोवाइडर के साथ. बट कल की डेट में अगर वो बोले कि नहीं मेरा मार्केट जा रहा है, जैसे अभी AWS ने अपना जीपीयू भी बनाना शुरू कर दिया, अपने चिप्स बना रहा है, राइट,
गूगल कर रहा है,
तो वो उस गेम में जा सकता है. वो बोलेगा कि ये सिर्फ मेरे पास ही मिलेगा. गूगल भी बना रहा है, टीपीयू बना रहा है गूगल.
एग्जैक्टली.
तो वो
टीपीयू बना रहा है.
इस तरीके से कुछ स्ट्रैटेजी बनाएंगे, बट नॉट कि अभी जल्दी टर्म में आ जाएगा, क्योंकि एडॉप्शन बहुत कम रहेगा. लोग हमेशा एक स्पेसिफिक टेक्नोलॉजी को अडॉप्ट करने में टाइम लगाते हैं, रेदर देन एक जो ग्लोबल जिसने अडॉप्ट कर लिया. जैसे एनवीडिया है, एनवीडिया पूरी दुनिया ने अडॉप्ट कर लिया है. AMD अभी धीरे धीरे उस मार्केट में उतर रहा है.
मैं वही पूछने वाला था आपसे. I was just going to talk to you about AMD because AMD is doing some great work, Manoj, according to me.
Absolutely.
मैं मानता हूँ that there's a huge gap between NVIDIA and AMD, but AMD seems to be, I think they found their own lane and they're saying कि यार let's not get into this wild competition with NVIDIA. Let's create our own kind of a edge. Am I right? Am I wrong?
Absolutely. NVIDIA ने तो ऐसे कमेंट किए हैं कि whatever you're getting on the GPU, I'll give you on the CPU. So it's not a small thing to say. So I think वो करेंगे, but टाइम लगेगा, इमीडिएटली नहीं होने वाला है. तब तक NVIDIA ऑलरेडी मार्केट कैप्चर कर चुका है. जैसे लेकिन मैंने AMD की स्टोरी से एक चीज जरूर देखी है. एक टाइम पे Intel was leader of the industry in the chip.
True.
Every system, every computer, every server, Intel.
Yeah.
अभी अगर आप देखेंगे लास्ट 5 साल के अंदर AMD ने गेम चेंज कर दिया है. Like in our infrastructure, it's completely we are using AMD CPUs. We moved out from the क्योंकि जो कैपेबिलिटी दी है, जो कोर का डेंसिटी दी है AMD ने, it's super.
Right.
In Intel we go for 32-36 core per CPU. NVIDIA is already, AMD is already 192 cores.
Wonderful.
तो आसपास भी नहीं है. तो मेरे ख्याल से AMD गेम चेंज करेगा, बट थोड़ा सा टाइम लगेगा अभी करने में. बट जब करेगा तो वो करेगा.
Then it'll basically shake up the market like probably NVIDIA did when it came to the GPU methodology, according to you.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. Okay, then this brings me to this thought then. India's annual foreign cloud services spend, like I've mentioned, शुरुआत में $12 billion है approximately. Now the India AI mission, Manoj, GPU subsidy is 67 rupees per hour. So the government basically subsidize कर रहा है sovereign compute को, while enterprise spend still flows out in a big way. तो आपके हिसाब से what fractures that particular pattern and is price alone enough to change it?
नहीं, मुझे नहीं लग रहा. इंडिया AI का जो प्राइसिंग स्ट्रक्चर है, दिस इज नॉट सस्टेनेबल फॉर प्रोवाइडर्स, टू बी ऑनेस्ट.
Okay.
प्रोवाइडर्स वहां कुछ प्रॉफिट नहीं बना रहे हैं. अगर कोई प्रोवाइडर बोल रहा है प्रॉफिट बना रहा है तो वो सही नहीं बोल रहा है, मैं ये बोलूंगा, क्योंकि हम खुद उस मार्केट के अंदर हैं. आई नो कि अगले 3 साल 5 साल के बाद प्रोवाइडर्स विल मेक प्रॉफिट आउट ऑफ इट. इट इज जस्ट कि वो डिमांड थी, सप्लाई करने वाला काम कर रहे हैं. एंड लार्जली इफ यू रिव्यू कि वो किसको एलोकेट हुए हैं वो जीपीयूज, सो आप देखेंगे 70% के आसपास का नंबर है जो कि गवर्नमेंट ने जहां जहां पे टच पॉइंट बनाया है, जिस भी स्टार्टअप में, वहां पे एलोकेशन हुआ है बहुत ज्यादा.
करेक्ट.
आप कोई भी मिड लेवल स्टार्टअप या फिर इंटरप्राइज का नाम बहुत कम देखेंगे एलोकेशन में. आपको आई एम श्योर आपको 5 नाम से ज्यादा नाम नहीं मिलेंगे जिसने वहां से एलोकेशन लिया हो.
You're right.
So it's a good कि सब्सिडी मिल रहा है एंड वहां से फायदा हो रहा है, जिसकी वजह से सर्वम ने बहुत सारे लिए हैं, भारजन ने बहुत सारे लिए हैं. तो बहुत अच्छा फायदा हो रहा है. एंड आई थिंक तभी रीजन है कि ये मॉडल्स, फ्रंटलियर मॉडल्स यहाँ से निकल आ पा रहे हैं. नहीं तो वो पॉसिबल नहीं होता उसके बिना. बट सस्टेनेबल है कि नहीं है, वो नहीं है.
Do you see this changing?
Yeah, it will change. I'm sure providers start asking to government कि उसमें कुछ करना पड़ेगा, सस्टेनेबल बनाना होगा. नहीं तो ऐसे कैसे चलेगा? It's not just a GPU cost अगर आप देखेंगे तो. So it is all about GPU cost है, and then आपका power का cost is super heavy.
For sure.
Yeah. तो उसके लिए आई थिंक गवर्नमेंट को देखना होगा एंड प्रोवाइडर के बारे में सोचना होगा. तो वो प्राइसिंग स्ट्रक्चर को कुछ चेंज करना पड़ेगा. आप सोचिए वो सेम जीपीयू जो आप वहां पे दे रहे हैं, इफ यू टॉक अबाउट ओपन मार्केट, इट्स आप ऑलमोस्ट 40% एक्स्ट्रा अमाउंट में दे सकते हो ओपन मार्केट में. और दे सकने की बात नहीं है, मार्केट में अवेलेबिलिटी नहीं है तो लोग ले रहे हैं. वो खरीद रहे हैं क्योंकि जहां से अवेलेबिलिटी मिलेगी वहां से जीपीयू खरीदा जा रहा है आज की डेट में.
So because of obviously the sheer crisis जो है इस वक्त compute capacity को लेके, so Manoj, that is probably exactly what you're trying to highlight right now, that a lot of let's say frontier labs जो शायद बहुत अच्छा काम कर सकती हैं आज की तारीख में, वो इस वक्त हार रही हैं उस पूरी रेस में in a big way because they're not being able to let's say put out their work like you had mentioned. आपने खुद ही कहा कि एक डेवलपर इकोसिस्टम है जो 6 महीने में शायद अपना प्रोजेक्ट खत्म करना चाह रहा था मगर नहीं कर पा रहा बिकॉज कंप्यूट कैपेसिटी का इशू आ रहा है. सो डू यू फील कि हम लोग एक तरफ तो बात करते हैं, और मैं सॉवरेनिटी पे जरूर आके बात करने वाला हूँ आपसे काफी डेप्थ में, बट सॉवरेनिटी एक बड़ी अच्छी चीज है, मैं मानता हूँ एंड मैं दिल से मानता हूँ दैट वी हैव टू पुश फॉर इट, बट लेट्स बी ऑल्सो ऑनेस्ट कि डू वी हैव द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, पहली बात, डू वी हैव द फंड्स, डू वी हैव द माइंडसेट है, मान गया, टैलेंट है, इंक्लिनेशन है, बट जो बाकी चीजें हैं जो इस पूरे मैजिक सॉस को क्रिएट करेंगी वो शायद इस वक्त गुमचोट की तरह गायब है.
मैं एक बात पे एग्री हूं आपके फंड्स को लेके. इंडिया के अंदर जितना फंड्स एलोकेट हो रहा है इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर कंपनीज को, बट मुझे लग रहा है जिस तरीके से चीजें आगे बढ़ रही है ना, एंड जो इन्वेस्टर्स का ध्यान इंडिया की तरफ और आ रहा है, तो फंड्स आएगा. इंडियन इन्वेस्टर्स इन्वेस्ट करना शुरू किया है जहां तक मुझे लग रहा है. 1-2 दोस्त है मेरे जो और भी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर कंपनी चलाते हैं, दे ऑल्सो मेंशन दिस चैलेंज कि यार आपको 500,000 करोड़ तो फंड हो सकता है यहाँ से, बट अगर आपको स्केल करना है $1 बिलियन कंपनी फंड, देन हाउ यू विल डू इट? आपको कुछ करना पड़ेगा उसके लिए, कुछ सोचना पड़ेगा। बट मुझे लग रहा है अभी लोग करने लगे हैं उसके लिए। अगर आप देखेंगे तो लोग अभी तक इंडिया में ज्यादातर पैसा कहाँ जाता है? रियल एस्टेट।
करेक्ट, यू
राइट। सो और अगर आप बात करें जीपीयू की और इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर मार्केट की, ये भी टर्न लेता जा रहा है रियल एस्टेट की तरह।
यस।
आज आप जीपीयू में इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं एंड यू विल एंड अप विद ऑलमोस्ट फॉर 10 years आपको वो जीपीयू पैसा देता रहेगा।
Manoj, RMZ is one of the biggest examples. It's a real estate giant which is building data centers in a big way.
अब हीरानंदानी, बिल्कुल
Absolutely.
सही बोला आपने, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
The Lodha Group, I believe, also is looking at investments.
बहुत सारे। मैं आपको बताऊं, मेरे पास ऑलमोस्ट महीने में एक कॉल किसी ना किसी का आ जाता है कि वी नीड टू बिल्ड अ डेटा सेंटर, हमें ये इन्वेस्टमेंट करनी है, कैसे करें? सो पीपल आर मूविंग टुवर्ड इट। अगर आप देखें पिछले एक साल से पहले मीडिया में बहुत ज्यादा एआई टेक्नोलॉजी की बातें नहीं होती थी।
Yes.
बट अगर एक साल में आप देखें, आई बिलीव कोई ऐसा मीडिया चैनल नहीं होगा जिसमें हर दिन एक बार टेक्नोलॉजी की बात ना हो।
You're right.
होती है। तो आई थिंक चीजें चेंज हो रही हैं और मुझे लग रहा है 3-4 साल के बाद ये चीजें चेंज होगी, जब लोग जिस तरीके से अभी एआई इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में आने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, डेटा सेंटर बिल्ड कर रहे हैं, वो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर कंपनीज में भी स्टार्ट करेंगे इन्वेस्ट करना। और तब तक मुझे लग रहा है जो अभी फंड है इनफ है। अगर आप बात करें सीपीयू कंप्यूट एंड जीपीयू कंप्यूट जिस मॉडल्स में हम लोग जा रहे हैं, दैट इज गुड इनफ। तो कोई भी प्रोवाइडर अगर 1000 CR तक का भी इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहा है, आई थिंक एक अच्छा खासा पोर्शन मार्केट का एक्वायर कर सकता है। तो आज की डेट में अगर आप देखें 90% से ज्यादा है, कोई 98% रिपोर्ट बताती है, कोई 92% बताती है। लेट्स से 90% से ज्यादा शेयर ग्लोबल प्रोवाइडर्स के पास है।
Yes.
तो मैं कह रहा हूं अगले 5 साल में अगर हम उसको 70 पे ले आए, लेट्स से ओनली हमने 20% भी कर लिया, इट्स ए ह्यूज अचीवमेंट।
Oh yes, it is. I agree with you.
तो वो अगर हो जाता है तो उसके बाद मेरे ख्याल में हर चीज को ना टेस्टिमोनी चाहिए होती है। हम इंसानों को मुझे लगता है एक एग्जाम्पल चाहिए होता है कि यार देखो ये हो गया है। जब एग्जाम्पल मिलता है वो जैसे पीओसी में भी होता है ना कि ये हो गया है, इतने लोगों ने ले लिया है और वो केस स्टडीज निकल गई है, देन पीपल स्टार्ट मूविंग। फिर वहां पे लगता है कि वो फोमो हो जाता है कि मैं मिसिंग आउट फील करना शुरू कर देते हैं लोग कि यार मैं पीछे तो नहीं रह गया इस रेस में। एंड देन विल स्टार्ट कमिंग इन्वेस्टमेंट्स कि अब इन्वेस्टमेंट करनी पड़ेगी भाई। बट अभी राइट टाइम है इन्वेस्टमेंट करने का किसी भी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर कंपनी में।
ओके, आपने कहा कि एक उदाहरण चाहिए होता है। मेरे हिसाब से स्काई रूट से बेहतर कोई उदाहरण नहीं हो सकता इंडियन स्पेस टेक इकोसिस्टम के लिए। मेरे हिसाब से बहुत सी फंडिंग आनी चाहिए पोस्ट दिस as far as patient capital is concerned for space tech. But anyway, that is my thought. I just thought I'll bring it up because I'm very proud of it, and I'm sure so are you, Manoj, given your entire understanding and celebration of sovereignty. But मुझे एक चीज बताइएगा, sovereignty की बात करते हुए, obviously हम बार-बार will keep touching upon it time and again. I want to understand. Recently जैसे चाइना की बातचीत हो रही है, चाइना बोल रहा है कि वो शायद अपने ओपन सोर्स मॉडल्स को बैन करेगा। हम देख चुके हैं फेबल और मीथोस के साथ क्या हुआ। तो उस बेसिस पे स्पार्क ऑफ हुआ पूरा डिस्कशन रिगार्डिंग सॉवरेनिटी। मानता हूँ इट्स अ गुड थिंग, बट आई वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड फ्रॉम यू बिकॉज यू आर सो डीप इन द इकोसिस्टम, व्हाट इज योर थॉट, हाउ मच ऑफ एन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर रोल is going to push the sovereignty model discussion? Because I mentioned talent is there, intention is there, inclination is there. According to you, Manoj, क्या है वो missing जो हम जिस पे काम करें तो एटलीस्ट चीजें एक्सेलरेट होंगी? मेरे दिमाग में आता है इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, आपके दिमाग में क्या आता है?
आई बिलीव इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है, अवेलेबिलिटी होगी तो लोग कुछ डेवलप कर पाएंगे। जैसे मैंने क्या बोला, इंडिया एआई से, यस एब्सोल्युटली बैंग ऑन। आई थिंक इंडिया एआई से अगर आप देखेंगे एलोकेशन जिसमें हुआ है, यू सो मी 10 नेम्स ऑफ द डिफरेंट एंटरप्राइजेस या ऐसे स्टार्टअप्स का नाम वहां पे आप देखिए आपको नहीं मिलेगा, गायब है। क्यों गायब है? वहां पे नाम होना चाहिए था, क्योंकि या तो जिस सब्सिडी में जो सब्सिडी दिया गया है इनफ नहीं है उनके लिए, या अगर आप रियलिटी चेक करें तो अगर आपको ऐसे मॉडल्स बनाने हैं तो उसके लिए आपको हाई कैपेक्स चाहिए। एंड
बिल्कुल
आपने सही बोला था कि उतना पैसा इंडिया में नहीं है आज के टाइम पे कि आप लगा पाओ, बट वो आएगा, टाइम आएगा वो भी,
व्हिच इज गुड।
लेकिन हाँ, बट मुझे लग रहा है सॉवरेनिटी, जैसे आप कह रहे हैं कि चाइना ने अनाउंस किया कि वो बैन करेगा, राइट? मेथोस का बैन हो गया था कि भाई नहीं आएगा,
हाँ जी।
राइट? हम लोग नहीं करेंगे। 2 दिन के लिए आया, तीसरे दिन बैन हो गया वो, रातों रात एक्सेस निकाल दिया गया।
करेक्ट।
मुझे लग रहा है लंबा टाइम नहीं है, आई थिंक 6 महीने। आप देखिए अभी जो चाइना ने एक नया मॉडल लॉन्च किया है,
हाँ जी,
वो क्लेम कर रहा है एंड उसके जो बेंचमार्किंग है उसने सब पीछे छोड़ दिया। तो अगर ऐसे ओपन सोर्स मॉडल आने लगे तो अगर हम बात करें लोकिन की, तो वो लोकिन रहेगा नहीं कहीं पे।
बट पॉलिसी चेंज हमारे हाथ में नहीं है ना मनोज। चाइना अगर अपनी पॉलिसी चेंज करता है ओपन सोर्स पे, मीथॉस में वही तो हुआ। जब वो बैन हुआ तो पीपल हैड अ फॉल बैक, दे फेल बैक ऑन द ओपन सोर्स एज फार एज चाइना इज कंसर्न। तो मैं उस एंगल से आ रहा हूँ। सो इमेजिन इफ यू आर स्टक बिटवीन अ रॉक एंड अ हार्ड प्लेस, तब क्या करेंगे?
कुछ नहीं कर सकते, बट मुझे लग रहा है ओपन सोर्स पावर देगा। और ओपन सोर्स, देखो मैं ना हमेशा हिस्ट्री देख के चलता हूँ सुधी। तो अगर आप देखें तो कोई भी स्टोरेज सोल्यूशन, कोई भी नेटवर्क सोल्यूशन, सब पहले प्रोप्राइटरी बॉक्स में आते थे। आज के टाइम पे आप कितने भी नियो क्लाउड को उठा लीजिए, कितने भी नए प्रोवाइडर्स को उठा लीजिए, सब लोग ओपन सोर्स यूज कर रहे हैं। चला गया वो बॉक्स वाला सिस्टम कि ओके मैं इसको बॉक्स में पैकिंग करूंगा, एंड होता वो पीछे ओपन सोर्स ही है। बॉक्स में पैकिंग करूंगा, मेरा अपना लोगो लगाऊंगा एंड आपको 10 गुना चार्ज में दूंगा। वो नहीं कर रहे अभी लोग। तो वेंडर लॉक-इन कोई नहीं करना चाह रहा, कोई भी लाइसेंसिंग में नहीं फंसना चाह रहा। लाइक पीपल लाइक अस, हम लोगों ने कभी वेंडर लॉक-इन के बारे में नहीं सोचा। कभी हम आज तक हम लोगों ने मेरे ख्याल से कोई लाइसेंसिंग टूल ऐसा यूज नहीं किया जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर से रिलेटेड हो, जब ताकि कल के डेट में कोई भी लाइसेंसिंग का चैलेंज आता है कि वो प्रॉब्लम ना क्रिएट करे। तो मेरे को ये लग रहा है जिस तरीके से कम्युनिटी ड्रिव हो रही है ना ओपन सोर्स, और पिछले 15 साल में जो इवोल्व हुई है ये वाली कम्युनिटी, हर चीज ओपन सोर्स होना चाहिए, हर चीज का कंट्रोल हर किसी के पास होना चाहिए, तो वो प्रोप्राइटर सॉफ्टवेयर को आगे नहीं बढ़ने देगी। वो कैच करेगी, 100% कैच करेगी। आज चाहे वो दिखाने के लिए किया हो कि हम लेस रिसोर्सेज के अंदर तुमसे बेटर कर सकते हैं, चाइना ने पहले भी किया था, डीपसीक जब आया अभी भी उसने वही सेम चीज किया है, चाहे वो दिखाने के लिए मैं बोलूंगा किया है, बट अगर चाइना नहीं करेगा तो कोई और करेगा, ये फॉर श्योर है।
हम कब
हम कब करेंगे ये बहुत बड़ा क्वेश्चन है। वही बात है, हमारे पास वो रिसोर्सेज, वो कंप्यूट, वो पैसा एंड वो पॉलिसी। जैसे बहुत सारी कंट्रीज के अंदर पॉलिसीज ऐसी नहीं होती कि नया कुछ भी आता है तो आप गला दबा दोगे तुरंत ही, इतने सारे रूल रेगुलेशन लगा दोगे कि वो कुछ कर ना पाए। तो वहां ओपन होती है पहले पॉलिसी, जब सब कुछ बन जाता है ना, एडॉप्शन करना शुरू होता है, वहां से ऑब्जर्वेशन ली जाती है कि क्या क्या चैलेंज आ रहे हैं, क्या रिस्क हो सकता है।
Which is right.
जैसे माइथोस जब आया, जब माइथोस बनाया गया, क्या बनाने से पहले वो सारी पॉलिसीज लगी उस पे? नहीं, तो कोई फियर नहीं था, वो लोग डेवलप कर पाए ओपनली। बट जब वो आया, सब कुछ पब्लिक जाने वाला था, तब उन लोगों ने सोचा कि ओके क्या नुकसान हो सकता है इसका, क्या ट्रिगर कर सकता है पूरी दुनिया को, एंड तब वो जो भी रोका गया एक्सेस उसके बाद निकाला गया। अब मैंने कुछ दिन पहले खुद देखा कि नाउ दे आर आस्किंग फॉर वेरिफिकेशंस, कि अगर आप कुछ भी ऐसा स्कैन कर रहे हो। सो बाद में किया, बट टेक्नोलॉजी पहले बनी। हमारे देश में मेरे ख्याल से टेक्नोलॉजी बाद में बनती है, रूल रेगुलेशन पहले आ जाते हैं। तो वो चेंज होने की जरूरत है। वो चेंज होगा तो लोग इनोवेशन कर पाएंगे ओपनली।
So the positive is, according to you, Manoj, the infrastructure funding will start to flow, hopefully sooner than later. So that's a good positive, according to you, which will help us achieve, let's say, frontier model, hopefully. But one thing that you feel needs to change, कि policy की कहानी में या drafting of the policy में वहाँ पे changes आने ज़रूरी हैं, which then, since we mentioned policy, DPDP Act, penalties reach 250 crores. Now, MATI's March 2026 addendum, Manoj, top secret and secret government workloads cannot be hosted on any cloud. So it's quite self-explanatory. अब मेरा question आपसे ये है, what is the specific compliance exposure for an Indian enterprise running sensitive data on foreign infrastructure, and क्या बदलता है when they move to Indian jurisdiction compute, like in this case, you?
सबसे पहला बदलेगा जो डीबीडीपी एक्ट आ रहा है, उससे कंप्लाइंट हो जाओगे आप। लेट्स से आप थोड़ा सा भी ऐसा कोई डेटा होस्ट करते हो जो आज किसी हाइपरस्केलर पे चला रहे हो, जैसे एक टाइम पे आई बिलीव व्हेन अनाउंस्ड कि ओके इंडिया में सब कुछ होना चाहिए, कुछ साल पहले किया था, मेरे ख्याल से 5 साल हो गई है, बट राइट टाइम नहीं था अनाउंस करने का कि अब इंडिया में होस्ट होना चाहिए, बाहर होस्ट नहीं होना चाहिए, आपका प्रोवाइडर बाहर का नहीं होना चाहिए। हमारे पास वो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर रेडी नहीं था उस टाइम पे, वो प्रोवाइडर्स नहीं थे, वो इकोसिस्टम नहीं था, एंड हम लोग फेल हुए थे कंप्लीटली। और आरबीआई ने भी बोलना पड़ा था कि भाई ठीक है आप AWS पे होस्ट कर सकते हो, बट डेटा सेंटर जोन इंडिया होना चाहिए। अब वो चेंज हो रहा है, अब क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट को भी दिखा है कि हाँ यहाँ पे टैलेंट है, चीजें हो चुकी है, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर रेडी है, वही सेम डेटा सेंटर्स है। तो मुझे लग रहा है सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट टाइम है अभी कि लोगों को सोचना चाहिए कि अगर मैं हाइपरस्केलर यूज कर रहा हूं, जितना जल्दी हो सकता है मैं इंडियन डेटा सेंटर्स, इंडियन प्रोवाइडर के पास आ जाऊं, ताकि फर्स्ट टिक मार्क जो आपकी कंप्लायंस का है वो आप लगा लो।
मेक सेंस।
बात रही क्या हम लोग रेडी हैं अभी, क्या इंडिया के लोग रेडी हैं इसको एक्ट को अप्लाई करने के लिए? आई एम श्योर नहीं है अभी, बहुत लोगों को तो अवेयरनेस भी नहीं है कि डीपीडीपी एक्ट है क्या, एंड उसको टाइम लगता है होने में। हम डेफिनेटली गवर्नमेंट ने टाइम दिया इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर रेडी होने का, बहुत सारी अनाउंसमेंट की, बहुत सारे टैक्सों में जब हम बात करते हैं, किसी इवेंट में जाते हैं तो बात करते हैं डीपीडीपी एक्ट की, वो टाइम दिया, एप्रिशिएटेड दैट। बट अभी मेरे ख्याल से इंडिया के लोगों को सोचना है कि कितना जल्दी वो कंप्लाइंट हो सकते हैं, क्योंकि पेनल्टी छोटी नहीं है, कोई भी कंपनी रातों रात उड़ सकती है, इतनी बड़ी पेनल्टी है।
यू आर राइट।
तो राइट टाइम है, अभी कर लेना चाहिए, राइट डिसीजन लेना चाहिए। और मैं तो बोलूंगा कि अगर आपको लग रहा है कोई भी रिस्क है या आपको कोई चैलेंज आ रहा है तो उठो वहां से एंड देन टेक दिस एक्शन। दिस इज द राइट टाइम, ये टाइम वापस आने वाला नहीं है।
मेरे दिमाग में एक ये इमीडिएट पॉइंट आता है कि फॉर एग्जांपल अगर हम एक सेक्टर की बात करें, एमएसएमईज बात करें फॉर एग्जांपल नाउ, या मिडिल सेगमेंट की बात करें टू बी मोर प्रिसाइज, in terms of the number of companies and the number of capacity or the amount of capacity that they need, they want to switch. For example, let's say there are X amount of companies which come to you, Manoj, and they say, okay, 10 companies come to you, Manoj, do you think you can assist us? We want to be compliant, DPDP compliant. Does Manoj have the answer and the solution for those 10 companies, or will you do it in a phased manner? Because that I feel also is a constraint. Do we have the capacity to, let's say, have all Indian companies switch?
Absolutely, we have the capacity now.
Okay, fabulous.
आप मुझसे 2 साल पहले पूछते तो मैं बोलता नहीं, हमें फेजेस में करना होगा। सेम स्टोरी ऑफ द जीपीयू। जैसे जीपीयू के लिए अगर आज आके आप मुझे बोलो कि मुझे 10,000 जीपीयू चाहिए, आई डोंट हैव 10,000 जीपीयूज। It should be go in phases. I have to go to NVIDIA, order it, and then it's a delivery timeline.
Agreed.
वो कैपेसिटी वहां से एक्वायर करना, वहां पे टाइम लगेगा। बट इफ यू टॉक अबाउट टुडे फॉर द कंप्यूट पावर, लाइक CPUs, we have massive capacity. तो अगर आप बोले thousands of companies immediately आ रही है, they can switch over.
Fabulous.
उसके लिए फर्स्ट केसेस में ऐसा होता है कि आपको ट्रेनिंग स्ट्रक्चर बनाना हो गया, एंड देन कस्टमर एबल टू डू इट देमसेल्फ, क्योंकि जब वो चीजें आएगी तो मास के अंदर आएगी। वो कहते हैं ना, लोग बदलते हैं तो एकदम से ही बदलते हैं, नहीं तो सालों साल नहीं बदलते।
सच बात है। So good, that's encouraging that at least you've been able to educate us कि capacity है and people just need to have the awareness to switch as quickly as possible. Yotta के बारे में बात करना चाहूंगा आपसे। India's largest GPU provider. Now they serve 75% international customers at 50% higher pricing than domestic rates. Now India's sovereign compute is primarily serving the world. तो मेरा सवाल आपसे ये है फिर मनोज, if India's biggest sovereign cloud is optimizing for foreign revenue, who is actually building compute for Indian enterprises?
As I said कि बाहर का जो प्राइसिंग है वो ऑलरेडी इतना ज्यादा है कि अगर यहाँ से आप 50% भी ज्यादा पे करोगे तो भी उनके लिए डिस्काउंट पे मिल रहा है।
So it's a good business decision.
I said absolutely. मैंने वही कहा सुधी, यहाँ की जो पॉलिसीज है, यहाँ का जो स्ट्रक्चर है, उसके ऊपर हमें कुछ सोचना चाहिए, बात करनी चाहिए वहां पे। तो यहाँ पे जो हम इंडिया के अंदर पॉलिसीज बनती है बहुत बिग मल्टीनेशनल्स के लिए बनती है। हम लोग अभी फाइट कर रहे हैं बहुत सारी चीजों के लिए। थैंक यू। हम लोग अभी फाइट कर रहे हैं बहुत सारी चीजों को चेंज कराने के लिए, अपडेट कराने के लिए कि आप इसको कीजिए, इससे फायदा होगा। तो मेरे ख्याल से वो पॉलिसीज जब चेंज हो जाएगी, लाइक इफ यू आस्क अस, माइटी कंप्लाइंट शायद हम 3 साल पहले हो जाते, हमारे पास वो हर टेक्नोलॉजी है जो हाइपरस्केलर से कोई आएगा तो उसको चाहिए। हर इंपॉर्टेंट टेक्नोलॉजी है। तो हमने कहा कि आप जो भी ये करते हैं ये उसके ऊपर क्वालिफाई करना चाहिए कि जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है जिसने प्लेटफॉर्म बनाया, इज इट गुड इनफ कि अगर एक हाइपर स्केलर से आता है तो उसको सेम क्वालिटी मिलेगी। अगर मिलेगी देन यू शुड डू इट। बट इफ यू पुट ए डिफरेंट क्राइटेरिया, लाइक माइटी के अंदर एक 100 रैक्स का कैपेसिटी का वो था, 100 रैक्स अगर आप लगाते, इट्स ए मैसिव इन्वेस्टमेंट, बट अभी हमें करनी पड़ रही है वो। वी हैव टू डू इट नाउ, या बिकॉज ऑफ द पॉलिसी, बट हम वो करेंगे। बट जब मुझे ये पेन लगता है सुधी, तो मुझे लगता है जब पेन मुझे है, मेरे जैसे बहुत लोगों के ऐसे पेन्स होंगे जो कि अनरिजॉल्व होंगे। तो अगर वो ओपन पॉलिसीज कर दी जाए, वहां पे थोड़ा सा लेवरेज किया जाए कि अगले 5 से 10 साल आप लेवरेज कीजिए हर पॉलिसी को। आप देखो टेक्नोलॉजी कहां से कहां चली जाएगी।
सॉरी आपकी बात काट रहा हूँ एक सेकंड, बिकॉज आई माइट ऐड टू व्हाट यू आर ट्राइंग टू से। अगर हम जैसे सिंपल लॉजिक आपको देता हूँ, ऑटोमोटिव सेक्टर की बात करते हैं, ठीक है। अब अगर आप ऑटोमोटिव सेक्टर में एक वेंडर होना चाहते हैं तो OEM आपसे एक्सपेक्ट करता है कि आपके पास ISO TS की सर्टिफिकेशन, करेक्ट बोला?
करेक्ट।
Same ISO 14001 हो, which is environment compliant. Why can't we have those kind of situations and open it up? So then Manoj doesn't have to struggle with a policy matter. Manoj only has to ensure that he's certified to compete at a global level.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। आज के टाइम में जैसे हमारे पास माइटी है, कि इफ यू माइटी सर्टिफाइड, आप किसी भी गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को सर्व कर सकते हो। बट हमने ये देखा कि अगर आप माइटी सर्टिफाइड नहीं हो, एवन कॉलेजेस आस्किंग अस टू माइटी सर्टिफिकेशन, जबकि एप्लीकेशन नहीं है वहां पे, एप्लीकेबल नहीं है उस कंप्लाइंस का। बट उसकी वजह से जितना इम्पैक्ट हम जैसे प्लेयर डाल सकते थे, उतना इम्पैक्ट नहीं डाल पाए। हम लोगों को टेक्नोलॉजी से हटके कंप्लाइंस को देखना पड़ रहा है। मैं ये कड़वा सच बोल रहा हूं, और ये सिर्फ मेरे लिए नहीं है सुधी, बहुत सारे ऐसे प्रोवाइडर्स के लिए है।
Has that not been voiced, Manoj, back to the policy makers, because it's one level or the other?
किया गया है। इट इज ऑलवेज इन प्रोसेस कि हाँ कर रहे हैं, हो जाएगा। बट मैं हमारी रियलिटी आपको बताऊं तो हमें वो पूरा करना पड़ रहा है अभी। वी हैव टू गो फॉर दैट इन्वेस्टमेंट, पुट दोज नंबर ऑफ रैक्स। और बात ये भी नहीं है कि रैक डालने में आपको चैलेंज है। प्रॉब्लम इज, एक कंप्यूट सर्वर जो आज से 10 साल पहले आता था, जब वो पॉलिसी बनी थी, तो उस कंप्यूट सर्वर के अंदर मुश्किल से 64 GB 64 GB रैम होता था, 32 GB रैम होता था, 4 कोर 8 कोर के प्रोसेसर होते थे। आज के टाइम पे वही 2U के बॉक्स के अंदर, एक रैक के अंदर, एक सर्वर आपको 256 कोर से ऊपर के कोर दे रहा है, आपका 2 टेराबाइट यानी कि 2000 GB ऑफ रैम दे रहा है। आप सोचिए, हमें अभी आइडल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बहुत लगाना पड़ा है।
हाँ, that's what I mean.
इस पर्टिकुलर केस के लिए।
And your money has gotten blocked.
Absolutely. बट हमें अभी क्या है कि नहीं करेंगे, क्योंकि जिस विजन के साथ हम लोग चले थे, अगर कुछ भी अड़चन आएगी एक इंसान तो उसके लिए सब कुछ करेगा। बट मैं कह रहा हूं हर किसी के लिए, अगर गवर्नमेंट, जैसे आपने कहा था कि हम कब करेंगे, हम करेंगे तब जब ये बहुत सारी जो अड़चन है ना, ये मिड लेवल स्टार्टअप्स कंपनी के लिए बना दी जाएगी कि आपको चैलेंज नहीं आएगा नो मैटर व्हाट।
उस
दिन इंडिया चेंज होना शुरू कर देगा।
Which is what we need, because irony हो जाती है ना, एक तरफ तो हम बहुत बारी एक ही चीज बोल रहे हैं कि हमारे को AI रेस में आगे भागना है और हम चोटी के खिलाड़ी बनना चाहते हैं and all of that, but you cannot have that. You cannot suddenly tie weights to a person's legs and say, okay, now you finish, beat Usain Bolt. I mean, just an example.
Absolutely. तो मुझे लग रहा है चेंज होगा।
I'm loving your confidence and optimism, which is, to be honest, makes me very optimistic as well.
Thank you. मुझे लग रहा है हम बात कर रहे हैं आज, और ये बात बाहर भी बहुत सारे लोग देखेंगे। और जब हम बात करते हैं कि हम देश के लिए कुछ कर रहे हैं, तो मुझे लग रहा है कोई चैलेंज अगर हमें आ रहा है ना, कोई पेन अगर हम जैसे लोगों को आ रहा है, तो बाकी हजारों लोगों को आ रहा होगा।
Oh, for sure.
तो that's why I believe कि let's open up from the heart and says कि भाई इंडिया के लोगों में टैलेंट की कमी नहीं है, वो आपने खुद बोला।
Yes, which is true. And I think what the hurdles are need to be voiced and need to be corrected. I agree with you. Which brings me to this point then. As far as Utho has Indian jurisdiction, local support, and 60% lower pricing. That's established. Now, what does Utho own that no other hyperscaler can replicate, Manoj? One, and is that enough to build a durable business on?
One thing is, we are not using any proprietary software.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Any proprietary software. Everything is built in-house in India. We're not using any pre-orchestration developed software like OpenStack, CloudStack. नहीं, हम लोगों ने पूरा आर्किटेक्चर खुद बनाया है. यानी कल की डेट में अगर टेक्नोलॉजी के अंदर कुछ भी आता है, सो वी हैव दैट कंट्रोल कि हम उसके ऊपर डेवलप कर सकते हैं. वी डोंट नीड टू वेट फॉर वेंडर्स टू वेट फॉर 1 year की ओके ये वाला फीचर आएगा या ये वाला बग रिजोल्व हो जाएगा नेक्स्ट रिलीज में. नहीं, हम खुद बना सकते हैं. तो वो कंट्रोल आज तक हमने हमारे हाथ में रखा. नॉट ओनली हाइपरस्केलर्स, आई कैन प्राउडली से कि वी आर द वन इंडियन कंपनी जिसके पास कंप्लीट स्टैक अपना है.
Fabulous.
Not even storage we are using from someone else. No. हर चीज. तो मेरे ख्याल से ये जो पॉइंट है ये सबसे स्ट्रॉन्ग है. दूसरा बात जब आती है सस्टेनेबल बिजनेस बनाने की, इन द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बिजनेस इट्स अ प्रॉफिटेबल. Like we are running from last many years. From day one, we are profitable.
Fabulous.
We were not have any investment yet. We are now go for investments because इतना सारा बड़ा infrastructure खरीदना है तो we need money for that. उसके बिना possible नहीं हो पाएगा.
Very quickly, if you can just elaborate on how are you financing the 10,000 GPUs that you have promised? I'm sure that is part of the infrastructure expansion that you're looking at.
Absolutely. So we are going to have an investment now. We are going to have investment partners. तो हम लोग अभी कुछ इन्वेस्टर्स के साथ डिस्कशन में हैं, सो दैट वी कैन मेक श्योर कि जीपीयू का जो कैपेसिटी है उसको हम लोग फुलफिल कर पाए. साथ में जो हमारी जर्नी थी अगले 5 साल 7 साल बड़ी होने वाली थी, ग्रेजुअली ग्रो करते, इम्पैक्ट कम डाल पाते, वो इम्पैक्ट मैसिव डाल पाएंगे. जैसे आपने कहा कि क्या हमारे पास इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है, आज भी है. बट मैं कह रहा हूं कि आज अगर थाउजेंड्स ऑफ कंपनी जाए, फिर मैं बोलूंगा कि अगर पूरी इकोनॉमी को हमें शिफ्ट करना है ना किसी भी डिसीजन लेने के लिए, वी विल हैव दैट कैपेसिटी, वी विल हैव दैट पावर. तो जल्दी ही आपको वो गुड न्यूज आएगी.
That is wonderful. We'll have you back on front page to discuss and celebrate together as far as that is concerned.
Absolutely.
Wonderfully put. Then I want to ask you this. Google, Microsoft and Amazon, Manoj, के पास decades of enterprise cloud engineering and AI services का experience है, and they've built on their own models. Like you said, you yourself own the full stack. Now, sovereignty and price are very important and very compelling, I agree. But can Indian cloud providers compete on technical capability at scale? You know, that is where a question mark somewhere lingers. And what does Utho have to build to close that gap, if there is a gap?
I can say it from my experience. तो अगर आप देखें इस वाली चीज को कि फुल स्टैक इज बिल्ड इन हाउस, सब कुछ जीरो से हीरो, पूरी जर्नी प्लेटफॉर्म की जो रही है वो इन हाउस बनी है, नोएडा हेडक्वार्टर्स में बनी है. वो कहीं बाहर बैठ के नहीं बनी. नॉट बाय कि हम लोगों ने किसी भी ऐसे पर्सन को एक्वायर किया कि आउटसोर्स कर दिया आपने कुछ. नो, एवरीथिंग हियर. तो वो सब कुछ इंडिया के टैलेंट से बना है. जब ये पूरा प्लेटफॉर्म इंडिया के टैलेंट से बन सकता है, आज जब हम बात कर रहे हैं इन्फ्लुएंसिंग की, यस एब्सोल्युटली आई वुड एग्री एंड एक्सेप्टेबल टू मी कि भाई हम लोगों ने शायद 6 महीने लगाए हैं उसको करने में, अभी उसको पहले कर देना चाहिए था. इन्फ्लुएंसिंग लेयर दैट वी हैव डेवलप्ड इज कंप्लीटली हियर नाउ. और अभी जिस तरीके से ओपन सोर्स टेक्नोलॉजी बन रही है, गूगल, आपका AWS, जो भी प्रोवाइडर का आप नाम लेंगे, दे ऑल्सो स्टार्ट यूजिंग ओपन सोर्स सॉफ्टवेयर, नॉट जस्ट द प्रोप्राइटरी. वो भी चेंज होना शुरू कर दिया क्योंकि टाइम दिख गया कि चेंज आ गया है. अभी कोई भी एक आपके लोगों को देख के चीज खरीदने वाला नहीं है. अगर ओपन सोर्स का अडोप्शन ज्यादा हो रहा है तो उन प्रोवाइडर्स को भी जाना पड़ेगा. तो जो एक गैप था ना वहां पे कि अरे यार ये प्रोवाइडर तो ये वाला चीज डेवलप कर देगा और आगे बढ़ जाएगा सबसे पहले, तो ये हाइपरस्केलर्स अभी ऐसा नहीं सोचते हैं. हाइपरस्केलर्स ऑल्सो नाउ पुटिंग इन्वेस्टमेंट इन द ओपन सोर्स प्रोजेक्ट्स एंड उन्हीं को ज्यादा प्रमोट करना शुरू किया है. बात रहे कि कल के डेट में वो कर सकते हैं, एब्सोल्युटली कर सकते हैं. मैसिव कैपेसिटी ऑफ मनी एंड द रिसोर्सेज, राइट, जो चाहिए एक चीज को बनाने के लिए वो इनोवेट कर सकते हैं. बट अभी जब बात है एआई की, हम लोगों ने खुद देखा है जो चीजें हम 2-2 साल से बना रहे थे, अब वही चीजें 3-3 महीने 2-2 महीने, जो चीज 4 वीक लेती थी वो अभी 1 वीक से ज्यादा नहीं लेती डेवलप होने में, और 1 वीक के अंदर तो टेस्ट भी हो जाता है सब कुछ. तो आई थिंक एआई की हेल्प से वो वाली चीज भी हम लोग बीट कर सकते हैं कि क्या कल की डेट में कोई कर सकता है। तो बात सिर्फ ये नहीं है कि हमें रिप्लिकेट करना है, बात सिर्फ मैं सोचता हूं कि जब इंडियन मार्केट को हम सर्व कर रहे हैं, हमें ये पता चलेगा कि इंडियन मार्केट की नीड क्या है, यहाँ के यूज केसेस क्या है। एआई के टाइम पे आज की डेट में हर कोई वही यूज केस क्रिएट करने की कोशिश कर रहा है जो ग्लोबल लेवल पे कर रहे हैं। अभी तक इंडिया में ऐसे बहुत कम लोग होंगे जिन्होंने ये सोच कर देखा होगा मेरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में एआई किस तरीके से कैसे लगेगा, मैं सिर्फ उतना ही काम करूं एआई से। तो एआई से आज आउटपुट इतना निकाला जा रहा है बट उसका आउटकम बहुत कम है, क्योंकि वो यूज केस हम एक्चुअल में देख नहीं रहे कि क्या होने वाला है। तो मेरे यहाँ पे भी वही चीज होगा और हमारे प्लेटफॉर्म जो भी इंडिया में होंगे, आई थिंक वो वही होगा कि इंडिया में यूज केस क्या है उसको सर्व करना है। मुझे लग रहा है लेस इज मोर वाला जो कॉन्सेप्ट है वो ज्यादा चलेगा इधर, कि कम चीजें करके ज्यादा क्वालिटी ज्यादा आउटकम दिया जाए मार्केट को।
Frugality is something which I think is a great talent and a great advantage जो हमारे पास रहा है मनोज for I think decades. That is one thing, so I agree with you. But very quickly before I let you go, this is something which I want you to shed light on. India's cloud market is projected at $80 billion by 2030. Data center capacity is growing from 1.25 gigawatts to 10.5 gigawatts by 2035. That's the projection. सवाल ये है, can Indian cloud providers capture a very meaningful share of that $80 billion? या foreign hyperscalers will own the infrastructure while Indian companies run workloads on top of that?
आई बिलीव फ्लिप होगा, और वो जैसे मैंने स्टार्टिंग में कहा था कि वो गेम अभी फ्लिप करने का टाइम आ गया है। अभी तक हम लोगों ने 2 से 2.5 डेकेड्स वेस्ट की कंपनियों से ही सब कुछ बाय किया है, वही कंज्यूम किया है। बेसिकली हम लोगों ने वहां के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे बिल्ड किया है। अब मेरे ख्याल से वो फ्लिप हो जाएगा, अब इंडिया के यहाँ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे बिल्ड होगी चीजें। मैं ये बिल्कुल नहीं बोलूंगा कि बिल्कुल फ्लिप हो जाएगा, बट मैं कह रहा हूँ कि अगर हमारे पास 30% तक शेयर आ जाए अगले 3 से 5 साल में, जो आप उससे बड़ी विन
मानते हैं कि हो जाएगा।
100%। जिस तरीके से लोग चेंज करना शुरू किए हैं, इफ यू लुक एट जीपीयू मार्केट, सुधी, जीपीयू मार्केट के अंदर तो ऑलरेडी कर रहे हैं लोग।
करेक्ट।
मतलब दे आर नॉट एग्री टू पे 60-90% एक्स्ट्रा कॉस्ट। मतलब व्हाई? नाउ पीपल आर स्मार्ट।
ठीक भी है।
एब्सोल्युटली वो कह रहे हैं सेम एनवीडिया का जीपीयू है, सेम वही सर्वर है, उतना ही मुझे मेमोरी मिलना है, वही स्पीड मिलना है, व्हाई शुड आई पे दिस टैक्सेस? करेक्ट। मुझे जरूरत क्यों है? सिर्फ इसीलिए कि उन लोगों ने इंडस्ट्री स्टार्ट किया? नो। एंड आई रियली रिस्पेक्ट दीज हाइपरस्केलर जिन्होंने ये पूरा इंडस्ट्री बनाया है। शायद वो नहीं होते तो ये इकोनॉमी या ये इकोसिस्टम जो इंटरनेट के ऊपर हम कर रहे हैं नहीं था पॉसिबल।
You're right.
बट कब तक पे करेंगे हम उसका? ऑलरेडी कर चुके हैं ना, और कितना पे करेंगे?
सही बात है। एक एनवीडिया टैक्स है और उसके ऊपर फिर एक ग्लोबल टैक्स है।
एब्सोल्युटली
2 टैक्स है। इंटरेस्टिंग। बट फाइनली मैं आपसे ये कहना चाहूंगा एज अ मैसेज, मनोज, व्हाट वुड यू लाइक टू से टू, आई थिंक जो मुझे निष्कर्ष समझ आया हमारी पूरी डिस्कशन का, बहुत सी चीज़ों पे हमने काफ़ी बातचीत की, बट आई थिंक वन ऑफ द पॉइंट्स विच हैव बीन फेयरली सेंट्रल, और जाने अनजाने हम उसी चीज़ के बारे में भी टच अपॉन इट, which is the flow of capital, which I think is the need of the hour. So what would you like to say for probably all the people watching who can make that happen and accelerate this journey? आप 5 साल कह रहे हैं कि 30%, how about doing it earlier? What's the message you'd like to give?
Absolutely. And I think हमारा भी रीजन वही है now to go in the funding rounds, क्योंकि उस जर्नी को छोटा किया जाए तो वो इम्पैक्ट जल्दी बड़ा होगा। करेक्ट। तो मुझे लग रहा है जितने भी लोगों ने आज तक रियल एस्टेट के अंदर इन्वेस्टमेंट किया है या डिफरेंट जगह पे इन्वेस्टमेंट्स कर रहे हैं, दिस इज ए राइट टाइम टू इन्वेस्ट इन द टेक्नोलॉजी। और आज जो टैलेंट इंडिया का टेक्नोलॉजी के अंदर अपना टाइम इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहा है, वो अपनी जी जान लगा दे रहा है, उसको अगर आज फाइनेंसेस की जरूरत है और आप वहां पे इन्वेस्टमेंट करेंगे, उतना ज्यादा आउटकम, उतनी ज्यादा आरओआई आपको किसी एरिया में नहीं आने वाली है, फॉर श्योर। तो मेक श्योर अगर आप कोई भी ऐसा डिसीजन ले रहे हैं, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर कंपनी आपको कहीं पे भी मिल जाए, चेक द बैकग्राउंड स्टॉक। तो बेसिकली जो स्टैक है वो स्टैक उतना स्ट्रॉन्ग होना चाहिए, उतना रिलायबल होना चाहिए कि वो मास के अंदर स्केल कर पाए। एंड पूरा स्टर्निटी जिसके पास है, आप इन्वेस्ट कीजिए। आई एम श्योर आपको इस लाइफ टाइम का सबसे अच्छा आरओआई मिलेगा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर कंपनी से। दिस इज व्हाट आई कैन से।
Fabulous, Manoj. I mean, I
और
couldn't have
इसके
put it
साथ
any
में
better.
एक लाइन और ऐड करूंगा।
Sure.
एक लाइन और ऐड करूंगा, जब आप इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हैं इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को बिल्ड करने ही की, तो वो आपको सड़कों में और वहां नहीं करना, वहां गवर्नमेंट ऑलरेडी कर रही है। आप इस देश के फ्यूचर को बिल्ड करने में इन्वेस्टमेंट करेंगे। नॉट ओनली आरओआई आएगा, बट एक दिल को सुकून मिलेगा आपको।
ये सुन के मेरे दिल को बहुत सुकून मिला, मनोज। And the fact that we are really wishing and rooting for you and Utho Cloud to receive the funding as quickly as possible, so that you can keep making that very, very sovereign push to ensure that we are competing on a world stage. We've started doing it. I really just hope that our flag is constantly flying as quickly as possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. और होगा, 100% होगा, कोई रोक नहीं सकता। इस देश के लोग है ना, बहुत जिद्दी हैं सुधी। एक बार ठान लेते हैं ना तो कर देते हैं।
सही बात बोली, सही बात बोली। और इतिहास उसका डेफिनेटली बयान करता है हर बारी। Thank you so much, Manoj, for being with us on Front Page. And of course, whenever the next big milestone is reached for Utho Cloud, we'd request you to come back on Front Page for an exclusive.
Thank you. Absolute pleasure. बहुत मजा आया आपसे बात करके।
Thank you so much. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Manoj Dhanda, a gentleman who believes in the dream that India has, and he wants to make it a reality, and he's put his life's dedication towards it. What are your thoughts? Please do let us know in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the IIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think IIM.
AI prototypes are everywhere, but very few professionals know how to deploy AI where businesses actually operate. Introducing the Certified Forward Deployed AI Specialist by Adasi, a certification designed for the new generation of AI professionals who can bridge technology, deployment, operations, and business execution in real-world enterprise environments. Because modern AI success is no longer just building models. It's about making AI work inside production systems, customer workflows, and enterprise operations. The future belongs to engineers who can take AI from demo to deployment. This certification is ideal for AI engineers, solutions architects, technical consultants, Gen AI practitioners, developers who want to move beyond experimentation and deploy AI systems that create measurable business impact. The future of AI belongs to professionals who can take intelligence from concept to real-world execution.
There are a lot of models available on Amazon. You can use any model. For this particular workshop, I'll go with Llama 3. It's the simplest, easiest, and in terms of cost, no problem. But yes, if you are an organization, you want to go and work, you can use Anthropic's Cloud model. You can use any of these models. So this is the 2ml file, and what you need, all of you, is you can see there is a Docker file also created, there is a Py project created, there is requirement, and this is the environment. So just this is the app where you have a Py cache. So this is your cache. Init.py will not have anything, that is for initialization. This is your actual agent script, and then here you have got a readme which you can use automatically running in Docker, and these things come automatically.
You can click on data store. You can click on the tool name. So this is tool 1. It's a data store. You can give the description. Now I'm going with the lowest score in terms of grounding. So we have low confidence that the response is grounded.
AI prototypes are everywhere, but very few professionals know how to deploy AI where businesses actually operate. Introducing the Certified Forward Deployed AI Specialist by Adasi, a certification designed for the new generation of AI professionals who can bridge technology, deployment, operations, and business execution in real-world enterprise environments. Because modern AI success is no longer just building models. It's about making AI work inside production systems, customer workflows, and enterprise operations. The future belongs to engineers who can take AI from demo to deployment. This certification is ideal for AI engineers, solutions architects, technical consultants, Gen AI practitioners, developers who want to move beyond experimentation and deploy AI systems that create measurable business impact. The future of AI belongs to professionals who can take intelligence from concept to real-world execution.
There are a lot of models available on Amazon. You can use any model. For this particular workshop, I'll go with Llama 3. It's the simplest, easiest, and in terms of cost, no problem. But yes, if you are an organization, you want to go and work, you can use Anthropic's Cloud model, you can use any of these models. So this is the 2ml file, and what you need, all of you, is you can see there is a Docker file also created, there is a Pi project created, there is requirement, and this is the environment. So just this is the app where you have a Pi cache. So this is your cache. Init.py will not have anything, that is for initialization. This is your actual agent script, and then here you have got a readme which you can use automatically running in Docker, and these things come automatically.
You can click on data store. You can click on the tool name. So this is tool 1. It's a data store. You can give the description. Now I'm going with the lowest score in terms of grounding. So we have low confidence that the response is grounded.
For many decades, India's brightest engineers helped build technology companies around the world. On Saturday, which was the 18th of July, many of them proved they can build rockets too. Skyroot Aerospace became the first private Indian company to successfully reach orbit on its very first attempt. Yes, its very first attempt, placing India among a small group of nations capable of privately developing and launching orbital rockets. Now, the achievement goes far beyond one successful launch. Agnikul is now attempting something even more ambitious, recovering an orbital class booster, developing reusable launch systems, and targeting as many as 100 launches a year. Across the country, companies like Pixel, Dhruva Space, Digantara, Galaxy, Take Me to Space, Ethereal X, and others are building satellites, launch vehicles, space infrastructure, Earth observation platforms, and entirely new commercial businesses. Perhaps the biggest story is that India appears to be building something much harder, an entire space ecosystem. Now, only a decade ago, India had almost no private space companies. Today, there are more than 400 space tech startups. Some have already suggested that Skyroot's launch could become the UPI moment for Indian space tech. A milestone that fundamentally changes how entrepreneurs, investors, policymakers, and young engineers think about building deep tech companies in India. But, and there's a big but, history also tells us that reaching orbit is only the beginning. As Skyroot's founders recently put it, and I quote, "The real challenge begins after reaching orbit," end quote. Because building rockets is one challenge for sure. Building a globally competitive, commercially sustainable space industry is another beast altogether. Now, can India produce its own SpaceX? Will reusable rockets fundamentally change launch economics? Can government become the anchor customer private space companies need? And more importantly, has India finally built the ecosystem capable of creating multiple $100 billion worth of deep tech companies? You're watching Point Break. My name is Sudhi Sachdeva. But this show is not complete without me introducing the two wonderful guests, two fabulous voices who are going to be joining me on this brilliant, momentous discussion. Let me please welcome Professor Shreya Santra, PhD, who is the head of research at Sarabhai, at Spaceport Sarabhai. And then, of course, I have with me the ever so wonderful Anurag Veluri, who heads partnerships at Take Me to Space. Welcome to Point Break. How are the both of you doing?
Great. Thank you, Sudhi.
Fabulous.
Thank you for having us.
How did you spend your Saturday, which was the 18th of July? I want to start there first.
Watching the launch. It was supposed to be at 11:30 and then it shifted to 12:05. And it was quite, nervous, but it was amazing to see the launch.
What about you, Anurag?
Right, that's how I started my Saturday as well. I think all eyes were on the screens. In fact, I got quite a lot of my family members also to watch.
Nice.
And it was a pivotal moment for the ecosystem and the nations. So it was definitely very exciting for me to watch it take place successfully in its first attempt.
And I must add, truly momentous first ever attempt. And they got it bang on, which is brilliant. Which actually I would like to start with Shreya on this one, which is India's space journey began with bicycles and, church buildings. Quite poetic in a way, also quite interesting. We have a photograph right here at the AIM office, which is that iconic photograph of a gentleman carrying a rocket at the back of a bicycle. But of course, are we witnessing the biggest structural shift in Indian space since the creation of ISRO itself? And the reason I ask you this is, Shreya, how honestly significant is this moment itself?
Yeah, thank you for the great question, Sudhi. Definitely, that picture is epitome of motivation, where you can start and where you can reach. And that Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam and another ISRO scientist carrying that sounding rocket on this bicycle near the church premises to launch the sounding rocket is really a very inspiring picture to have. And I think most of our generation and most of the ISRO scientists who have worked through these decades have been very inspired by this picture and how we can really live our dream from a very humble beginning. And I think Skyroot actually launching a first private orbital rocket in its first attempt is basically showing a solid proof that dreams do come true. And it's definitely a structural shift from a government perspective to a private ecosystem. But I wouldn't say like from ISRO to a certain other ecosystem, but it's more of growing and in a positive direction. We are moving where everyone is involved, and we have the youth, we have the private sector, and also different investors and stakeholders who are involved in these kind of private commercial launches and missions. So this is the era of inclusivity, I would say. And that's what is the main historical moment.
Fabulous. Shreya, of course, mentioned youth, which brings me to you then, Anurag. The fact that you're building from within the ecosystem. I want to ask you this. Do you feel that is this historic from the inside because you're so deeply ensconced in the system? Or do you still feel we are, let's say, in the early innings?
Right. This is definitely just the tip of the iceberg because it's only been about 7 years since the space ecosystem or the space industry got opened up for the private industry and the private players to come in. And within 7 years, we've actually achieved quite a few things, right? Talking about Skyroot's, maiden launch becoming successful, and quite a few technical achievements by other new space companies as well. So there's definitely more to come. And as part of building one such solution or space infrastructure, we ourselves notice and have day-to-day conversations with such brilliant engineers, inventors, and that is definitely very encouraging to see what's coming ahead.
Now that I think is aspirational, that the point that you just marked out, which then logically brings me to this point then, Shreya, which is that private space companies, as Anurag just mentioned, right? He talked about the fact that what's coming, which is nice. But private space companies have existed globally for almost 2 decades. Why, according to you, has India suddenly accelerated? Is there any particular aspect to it? Is it because of the policy? Is it because things changed post the introduction as far as in-space was concerned? Was it because of the mindset? Was it because of the investment? Was it because of the way people started to think very differently when it came to space tech? According to you, what was it?
Yeah, so definitely, as you mentioned, in the globally, there have been several private companies since the last 2 decades. But in India, as Anurag mentioned, it just opened up 7 years ago, where InSpace was established, and the change in policy was the main primary catalyst, which opened up the ISRO facilities, how to get investments, and it also eased the regulations of getting the venture capitalists and investors involved in the startup ecosystem. So this is like 10 years ago, I think Pawan and Bharat, when they started Skyroot Aerospace, I don't think anyone believed them that they would be launching actual orbital rocket privately. But now it's a reality, and a lot of it happened because of the opening of the policies changing and the ecosystem developing. We always had the talent, I believe. Indians are very good in engineering and also in business development. So we always had the talent. It was just a space where they could expand their talent and actually come together to build something that they believe in. So I believe that that's what happened in the last 6-7 years.
Anurag, what Shreya just mentioned, I thought that was a very interesting little point that she made, that, when they started building 10 years back, they didn't believe that this could happen. A lot of people didn't believe them, correct? Do they have the same understanding when you started Take Me to Space, when that entire perspective came into the picture? Did you feel that sense of doubt, for example, yourself personally? Was there a lot of, for example, pessimism surrounding this entire situation? I would first like you to probably just tell me that, and then I'll follow up with something which I'd like to kind of get into.
Sure. When we first started off, I don't think there was pessimism internally, because as a team, when you gather a team or assemble one, right, you generally have people who share the same vision. So at the end of the day, it's about making things work. It's about building things and making sure that they're able to turn into valuable assets, right? Be it in space or on Earth. Sure. So there was definitely a lot of questions coming from outsiders, especially when you talk to investors, right? Quite a lot of the people do not understand the vision, quite a lot of, critiques, even try to get down to the science or actually the feasibility of what we just proposed. So there are moments like these that keep coming. And in fact, once you set a vision, how do you get there is the main question we're all trying to answer, right? There could be several ways. And I believe every company, including Take Me to Space, has been trying to figure out various ways through which we could achieve that kind of a vision.
So did that ever disturb you? The fact that there's this constant, nudging around, this constant getting into situations, which is honestly not an investor space to be in. I mean, that's not his job, but I guess he's freaking out because he's investing in the money.
Well, I think it's fair, right? You will have people questioning you. You will have people, doubting whether this is even feasible or not, whether the idea that you've just proposed, right? More importantly, at the end of the day, when you look at someone like an investor, they happen to be a stakeholder, right? Yeah. So I'm sure they definitely like to know, what is it that they're putting their money into. So I don't think these nudges have ever thrown us off, because at the end of the day, it's another question to answer, right? If it's honestly a good question, I'm sure, we're going to spend some time trying to answer it. So these things should definitely not throw any focused organization off.
which I guess I was just trying to establish, and I'm sure you would have gathered what I was trying to do, in terms of the sheer momentous scale of this launch for Skyroot, despite all the noise, despite everything that was being talked about, which Shreya mentioned 10 years back, nobody could have imagined, but they've done it today. So the sweetness of that success, I just wanted to hear that from you, Anurag. I mean, in terms of the fact that, the sheer scale of it, nobody seems to understand, right?
That's true. That's true. In fact, if you've, just taken a look at the number of space missions that any organization has attempted, be it a space agency or a private organization all over the world, getting, a successful launch or being able to achieve all your mission objectives is a miracle. And Skyroot just made that happen. So it was definitely a big boost for the entire private industry trying to break into the space, because, everyone follows the path of doing a technical demonstration or a technical demo mission,
Correct,
followed by a commercial mission, right? So this has definitely accelerated the belief with which one could, place their object in space. In fact, I'm sure Skyroot must have been getting quite a few inquiries from all over the world about how they made it happen,
Nice.
not just for, their launch vehicle, but also for the satellite that they had deployed. So, yeah.
Yeah, you put it across wonderfully well. Do you feel, Shreya, then, I'd like to come to you on this, in terms of the sheer scale of that achievement as Anurag just walked us through it, despite, of course, all the challenges, of course, all the naysayers, the pessimists, etc. But do you feel that, let's say, this entire aspect has also received a great form of a shot in the arm with the fact that, how a lot of costs also have fallen over the last couple of years in terms of, I'm talking about the technology costs. For example, AI, cheaper electronics, maybe, global capital. So do you feel that we are in the right upswing as India in the space tech ecosystem to benefit from this nice, happy wave that is also happening? Technology cost is coming down. The talent has always been there. And maybe we are now kind of finding the right kind of a momentum.
Yeah, I think this was the right time because the global launch costs have been going down, and it was very important for India to be in the competition. And that's where Skyroot has really stepped in. And it's not just they did the launch successfully, but I really liked the way they developed in phases, and they have been very transparent throughout of their testing, of the results they have received, of the different stages that they have tested. And that's what really brought the faith in having Skyroot as a prime player. And we also saw satellites and other payloads being launched in the first attempt itself. And this was also possible because of the global shift in AI, and also India has already been set itself up in developing a strong industrial hold in manufacturing, in electronics and software development. So I think the private space ecosystem has really gained a lot with all these different talents being developed in India, and different technologies that have been advancing over the last 10 years. So I think that's definitely a great thing to see that all these have matured along with how Skyroot developed their technology.
So, well, this question comes actually to the both of you. I'll start with you, Anurag, given the fact that, you're so experienced. You're what, 27?
Yes, I am 27.
Okay. I predicted that fairly well. But young engineers, right? One stat keeps coming up, which is the fact that 28 years is reportedly the average age at Skyroot. So when you're hiring, Anurag, what are you looking at in terms of these young engineers? Are they starting to gravitate towards deep tech vis-a-vis, let's say, traditional IT careers? Are you seeing that shift?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, there's quite some shift happening, I believe, with a lot of people wanting to pursue core engineering or core sciences. which essentially lays the fundamentals of engineering, right? So, moving from a very orthodox, path of taking an IT job versus getting into the deep tech industry is definitely where the opportunity lies for us as, a private player or an industry for that matter, right? So when we look for young talent, which also is what Take Me to Space's entire team is mostly comprised of. So we are looking at the diverse skill sets that they bring together, or what kind of an experience do they come with? Have they been a part of, let's say, a space club or any particular interest group around space technology during their years of education? Or have they built any interesting projects that, could essentially benefit in the development of, solutions at the company? So these are certain aspects that we look for when we're talking to talent, especially young ones. In fact, this has gotten much, much better with the introduction of space laboratories in schools and colleges. And, sorry, I think I lost my point.
Continue wherever you want to, whenever you want to, however.
Yeah. Right. Yes. So this has definitely been accelerated by the introduction of space laboratories in colleges and the establishment of quite a few space clubs as well, because we've noticed that over the last few years, several academic institutions have actually launched, let's say, orbital experimental modules on the PSLV's POEM platform, or else they've developed a CubeSat that they've deployed in the orbit. So when you have such news coming forward, it is definitely encouraging to go find such talent and identify these institutions that are nurturing such skill. So there's definitely this shift that we at Take Me to Space are looking forward to.
Wonderful. Anurag, thank you so much for giving me the perfect segue to the professor, because you talked about academics and institutions a few times. So, Shreya, well, the stage is yours. What is your viewpoint on what Anurag just mentioned? How are you viewing the young engineering talent of today vis-a-vis, let's say, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years back?
Yeah, definitely. Sudhi, if you remember earlier in our previous discussion, I emphasized on this, like academic institutions and research institutions should have space programs or some space tech education for the students, because a lot of students since the Chandrayaan-2 launch have been inspired to pursue space-related research and education. So this is the way how we can actually propel their inquisitiveness and also give them the opportunity to be part of this ecosystem. And once they get exposure to these, they can do internships in startups like Skyroot and Take Me to Space, and actually get exposure to real missions. And this helps in developing a really strong core of knowledge, not just theoretical, but actually hands-on knowledge where they test and debug and actually launch their missions. So having this young, average age of 28, it is not surprising for me, because I have been working with the students since the last 4 or 5 years, and I've seen how interested they are in these space missions, and they really want to find solutions for different problems that are there for uplink and downlink space sectors. So I think this is a great way to go. And another point that I also want to add is most of the space startups also gain a lot from the ex-ISRO advisors or, previous scientists who had worked in ISRO, and they are now actually open to helping help these space startups. So it's a very good balance of having young talent and also experienced advisors.
A question very quickly to the both of you before we move on to other facets of this conversation. Do you feel that space, and obviously post this very wonderful development that has taken place, which has been brought to us by Skyroot, do you see that at the end of the day, space might actually become what for engineers, what software became for engineers 20 years ago?
Right. I could quickly answer that, right?
Sure.
At Take Me to Space, we're developing something called Orbit Lab, where essentially anyone could develop an application and test it on an actual satellite. So they could develop Earth observation applications or build a machine learning model through which you could actually derive insights right from space. So I'm sure along with us, there are several other companies that are building such solutions that interface directly with, quite some,
in terms of the fact that what you're probably trying to convey, Anurag, is the fact that you're trying to make space cooler, right? Simpler, simply put.
And accessible.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, everything, both of you are right. Space could become the next playground. I believe it's just an application or a simple product away where you would probably witness someone in school doing an assignment related to space, right? That's the kind of an ecosystem you should definitely build, right? It should be imbibed right from your days in school.
Fair enough. Shreya, this bit about what I just mentioned, which I guess both you and Anurag both agreed with me. Let's face it, right? Space is a lot cooler a problem to solve than just, software, right? It just gives it a lot more excitement when a younger engineer is taking up, let's say, a vocation moving forward. I mean, you being a professor, you give us the inside stories of the classroom and what happens.
Yeah, so definitely we need the software for space. Space is an application.
Yes, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, so basically when you have these young minds solve an application or put their, minds into actual applications, and if it's space, it's like really intriguing and challenging. So that makes the difference. And these students are actually now watching that a private sector can launch a full orbital rocket. And this is not like we are romanticizing over a single launch, but it's actually giving a platform for them to send their work to space, as Anurag mentioned. And a very good example is the Cosmoserve company that launched their soft robotic arm for technology demonstration. And they developed it in 4-5 months, in the last 4-5 months, with a very young team of engineers. And that's something that we really need to aim for, how we can quickly make payloads and satellites and scientific work that can go to space with these platforms.
Fair. Anurag, very quickly, I'd like to ask you this. Shreya had mentioned a while back where she talked about, ISRO scientists being wonderful advisors to startups and the entire ecosystem, and rightly so. Absolutely. But do you think that could be one of the reasons where we've recently heard that, a lot of the 100-odd scientists have decided to exit and have resigned from it, ISRO? The government had to step in. They tightened, apparently, the exit laws and the rules. But honestly, do you think that is the solution and the way to address the problem? Honestly, what do you feel is the true mindset which probably gets revealed as far as these departures are concerned? Is it not a good thing? At the end of the day, finally, the country is benefiting, right? Let's say an advisor comes to take me to space. Let's say they go to Skyroot. What's wrong with that?
Absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, as an outsider, you look at it the way to understand whether it's going to affect you as an organization or as an industry player. And such a move was probably taken for a very strategic reason, right? They must have seen a mass exit of great scientists, people that have contributed to some significant missions, and not just in the private industry but also in a space research organization like the ISRO. When great talent exists, it definitely leaves a void. Not only are you carrying, some technology secrets, but you're also losing, or you're actually going back in time where you'll have to rebuild, because it's not just the skill that they bring, but it's also how well they were able to manage a particular team or how well they were good with a certain task.
Sure.
So, I'd like to see how this plays out and affects the industry as well as, our ambitions as a spacefaring nation. So let's hope it's for the best.
I agree with you fully, but according to you, Shreya, what could be the challenges that have probably warranted this kind of an action by the scientists in the first place? Because Anurag actually hit the nail on the head. These are national treasures. They need to be embraced. They need to be kept, given kid glove treatment.
Yeah, definitely. I think as a nation, as a spacefaring nation like India, it's very important that we also give importance to the national missions. Like as per the reports, I saw many of these scientists who exited or working on critical missions.
Yes.
It's like Gaganyaan mission and other missions. So I think that's why the government stepped in to control the exits by these scientists. But definitely, I think they are a treasure, and wherever they go, they will be contributing to the national development. What I believe government and ISRO should also take care of is to actually maybe increase the pay of these scientists while they are working at ISRO. Because the private sector has been growing and there's a lot of investment and much more opportunity to grow right now in the private sector and try out innovative ideas and new missions, which ISRO might not be actually thinking about. So I think that's government needs to take a balanced approach on how to retain these scientists if they want.
Oh, for sure. I agree. I mean, I think it needs to be almost a huge Herculean effort made to appease whatever they're talking about. Honestly speaking, we don't know, because these discussions would be taking place behind closed doors, and rightly so. It needs to be on a need-to-know basis, and Anurag would understand these are some national security issues also probably will be on the table. Fair enough, but it's a wait and watch, but not the best sort of a situation to be in, I believe, as far as the space ecosystem is concerned. But coming back to the happiness of Skyroot again, Anurag, let me bring that smile back on your face. The UPI moment, that seems to be the center of discussion. I was having a conversation with the SVP of Tech Mahindra, SVP Data and AI, Mr. Saurabh Jha. He said something which I thought it was positive. When I was having a conversation with him, I asked him about this. I said, do you feel that he says that, moments like these need to happen a lot more for, venture capitalists across the world who are investing in America, Europe, everywhere. Why can't they come and invest here? So his thesis is that moments like these need to happen a lot more. So do you agree with that thought process, Anurag? Or do you believe that this is the UPI moment?
Right. I think it's equally distributed between the both, right? Number one, you need to have more such moments, especially when you're talking about being able to, provide more launches to the industry. I think our cadence needs to go up. And similarly, you could consider this as a UPI moment because you've got an Indian company, an Indian private launch vehicle manufacturer that has just successfully attempted their first launch and were able to achieve all their mission objectives. Now, this itself unlocks a lot of opportunities for the ecosystem that could potentially be impacted by this, right? Competitors in the launch vehicle segment should definitely, come around soon with a very competitive solution. I'm sure there are going to be quite a few upstream companies that would like to come forward and start doing their technology demonstrators or start doing full-scale constellations. So in the launch vehicle segment as well as the satellite manufacturing segment, the entire supply chain is something that will continuously develop. Now that launches can successfully take place from India, I'm sure a lot of suppliers globally would be stepping forward to unlock the opportunities that India as a region could provide them. So these are definitely some interesting waters that we'll have to tread.
What is the lack of, honestly, Anurag, very quickly, what is the one reason, or maybe a couple of reasons, which is not allowing patient capital to flow in as abundantly as probably it has been in a lot of other countries, and hence they're far ahead? Moments like these will, I'm pretty sure, encourage a lot of the funds to come into India, although I'm pretty sure slowly but surely. But what is that? What is the bunch of reasons where it's not flowing?
There could be several, right? I mean, deep tech is it's a slow game, right?
Yeah.
You bat for it, and you play the game for quite long. So, at least if I were to talk about space, number one, it's new. Number two, there are very few players that have probably gone out there, announced themselves, or showcased to the world that they've been able to achieve.
So is it that we have to put our achievements on display before, let's say, the capital gets convinced to come in? Is that the only way moving forward? But then that's a catch-22, right? You need the capital to actually put your achievements on display.
That's true. I mean, which is probably why, as a company, you should definitely look at all the opportunities available. Grants, InSpace frequently announces quite a few challenges that you could take part in, quite a few opportunities that they present for you to be able to announce yourself. And like you rightly pointed out, it is catch-22. So it's just one of the ways through which you could attract patient capital. But also it's very important to demonstrate what milestone you're unlocking in, a set period, right? Because ultimately, India has done great as a B2B marketplace, a D2C marketplace because of the opportunities, right?
Sure.
Just the diversity of the population. Now, when you're talking about something this niche like space or deep tech in general, I'm sure people are just waiting for the right players to emerge. And this is the right time for patient capital to come into the country.
Fair point. Okay. That's nice and encouraging and enthusiastic and optimistic. Shreya, do you agree with Anurag on that one? Do you feel that this is that inflection point for deep tech in India? Or are we honestly just romanticizing a wonderful, great achievement? Just one launch.
I absolutely agree with Anurag that it's kind of distributed and balanced. Like we are looking into a UPI moment where one achievement will actually accelerate many other space companies that are in this sector and will give them the confidence. And it will also give the confidence to the customers and other investors to have faith in these launch companies. So it's definitely a big moment for, I believe. And one of the things, as you mentioned, like if we have to display our achievements, it's already there, out there. So since ISRO and now with the private sector, I think India has proven that we can achieve what we set to, and most of the times in the first attempt. So I think that global confidence and getting the global contracts or big contracts is also there in the pipeline, and that will help us in scaling this sector even more. So definitely, like having, and one of the things that happened during the UPI was everyone had a mobile phone. So it was easy, and internet access. So it was easy for everyone to use UPI. And space gradually is now becoming that kind of industry where, as we discussed previously, that students having access to test their satellites, or different commercial companies getting into space, and maybe many of us are not aware, but actually there are many other non-space companies that are investing in the space startups, and that's something that has changed over the last 5 years or so. So the mindset, I think, is going in a positive direction.
Anurag, you emphatically agreed with Shreya when she said non-space companies are investing in space companies. Could you maybe just very quickly give us a few names if you can, or for that matter, give us a few examples? It will contextualize it for all of us and the audience as well.
Right. Geo just announced that they plan on launching over 1,600 satellites, and I believe InSpace has given the principal approval for it. So that itself is quite the news for the space industry to tie their laces and get into the game. Similarly, I'm sure a lot of pharma companies would also be looking at the possibilities of manufacturing pharmaceuticals in space, right? Bioastronautics is an up-and-coming field. People in the West, companies in the West have already been doing it. So this is just the beginning for emerging technologies within space to shine. And we're looking to partner with many such who could possibly, allow us to build the data centers in space that we dream to, and also take quite a few of their ideas to space like we do.
Nice. Would you want to give us a few sneak peeks?
Well, I'll have to think about it.
Exclusively on Point Break. Let me underline that.
No, I'll have to think about it.
I knew it.
Probably the next time.
I knew it, but it was worth a try though. Which obviously then brings me to the ecosystem question. All right, I want to start with you, Shreya. Building an ecosystem is extremely, I think, pivotal as far as this entire space tech, landscape is concerned. Now, India today has Skyroot, has Agnikul, Pixel, Digantara, Dhruva Space, and the next name I'm going to take, Shreya, is going to bring a smile to Anurag's face. Take Me to Space, Galaxy, and Ethereal X. All right, just to name a few. There are, I'm sure, wonderful other names to add to that list. Now, what's fascinating is that all of these companies are not solving the same problem, which is very encouraging, right? They're building different layers, different facets of an ecosystem, which then, do you feel then, Shreya, this is resembling maybe a build like a Silicon Valley? And how important is an ecosystem density, especially in deep tech?
Yeah, I think being part of the new space India since the last 5-6 years, I have observed how these companies have grown over the years and how they have taken up several problems that they want to solve. And as you rightly mentioned, they are actually building layers and building a system where they can depend on each other and actually solve a unique problem. So I think, yes, it's a big challenge in deep tech where you take up, like, for example, Pixel is looking into hyperspectral satellite imagery, which has not been attempted previously, and Galaxy developing SAR imagery. And all these are very niche topics and very niche research, which they are trying to solve. So definitely this gives us a glimpse of how Silicon Valley developed, but also Silicon Valley, they actually basked on the glory of the internet. So with the internet boom, they developed different ways to connect, like Facebook or Oracle and other things, other applications and websites that came up during that time. I believe the current space ecosystem is much more robust. It's not as fast as the Silicon Valley developed, but it's in a much more phased manner. So I think that's something is very good. So it's not like a bubble, I believe, and they know what they are doing, and they have been trying to solve different problems and I mean, the list goes on. These are just a few companies that you mentioned.
Agreed.
Also like Sashure, they are actually solving problems of the farmers in India. So they are giving real-time data to the farmers to take actual intellectual decisions. So these kind of, very like getting into the lives of people with space tech is something that's really phenomenal, I believe, and that's what is something that will be sustainable. Yeah.
Point taken. Anurag, I mean, just taking up from what Shreya just mentioned, countries like China, for example, ensured that ecosystems were the way that they created a competitive edge. Taiwan did it for semiconductors. Quantum as an entire ecosystem requires, dependence on each other, right? So, two-part question coming to you. Is this a conscious decision as far as the space tech, deep tech methodology is concerned to build an ecosystem to ensure we have a competitive advantage as a country moving forward? Because let's be honest, and we should be proud of it, we are only in a handful of countries which is doing some great, wonderful things as far as space is concerned. So that is something which we need to pat ourselves on the back for. Second point that I want to ask you is, do you see this ecosystem approach probably taking space tech for India the way it took semiconductors for Taiwan? Maybe, I'm not saying now, but at least moving forward.
Right. So to answer your first question, yes, an ecosystem is definitely something that every nation will be eyeing for. Thankfully, we have the resources, we have the skill, and yeah, we do have nodal agencies to support, that push. So I believe that this is something that's definitely going to grow big, and we should definitely become self-sufficient as a space ecosystem. Second, we do have the potential to grow, right? Sorry, could you repeat your...
Yeah, what I meant was, do you think that this conscious decision of building an ecosystem gives us a competitive edge? You've agreed with me on that when it comes to space tech. Do you think moving forward, that edge or that competitive advantage can be something which can make us the forerunners, like it did Taiwan for semiconductors, make us the forerunners in space tech?
Absolutely, we do have that potential. In fact, just take a look at, the space industry, right? You have launch vehicles, you've got the ground segment already covered by plenty of operators, satellite manufacturing, of course, we ourselves do it. In fact, we do it all indigenously. So these pointers itself are a sign that we are slowly tending towards that point where we are going to become an ecosystem that could sustain itself and, provide everything required in the supply and the value chain.
Fair enough. I'd actually like to start with you, Shreya, on this one, because, honestly, space is not just about rockets, although they're very cool, but it goes beyond that. SpaceX became valuable because it reduced the launch costs. We mentioned this earlier, right? Now, value is moving beyond just the launch bit, right? So, according to you, where will, let's say, the cost or the factor kind of truly start to show up, become very visible? Will it be launch, satellite, data, orbital compute, AI infrastructure, space manufacturing, because wherever it becomes visible, the value gets created.
Yeah. So I think it's a combination of all. Definitely launch costs will go down if we have more and more customers availing these launch facilities, launch services. So, and that can be possible with having launching space infrastructure, or launching satellites that can actually clear the orbital debris, or improving the space situational awareness, and for communication satellites to be launched more frequently. So definitely it's a combination of how you actually sustain the ecosystem with sustained customer base. And here I think everyone has a role to play, especially the government or ISRO can also become a prime anchor customer for these launch services, so that they can be launched, they can increase the frequency of the launch, and that itself will bring down the costs. So yes, costs do matter for keeping this accessible, but definitely what all these companies should aim for is also reusability, or how they can have the same parts or same rocket stages being used multiple times. That will definitely reduce the launch cost as well.
Fair enough. Anurag, I remember having a conversation with Professor Chakravarti of E-Plane, and I remember him saying something that, frugality is honestly one of the biggest advantages as far as Indian tech is concerned, Indian scientists are concerned, because of the fact, let's face it, funds don't flow into us like they probably do to a company in the United States or China, for example, where, people don't really ask you any questions. They say, kya banana hai? Rocket banana hai? Ye lo paise. They don't go beyond it. But here, we probably want to examine the blueprint with you where they have no knowledge, etc., etc. You know what I mean? But having established that, he says that actually that is a big advantage for us. And that can be something which we can use in a big way to gain a hell of a lot of momentum. So what Shreya just mentioned, do you agree with Professor Chakravarti in the first place that frugality has helped, let's say, Take Me to Space, it's helped a Sky Route to come up with solutions which probably a lot of people have not thought of because you had the money?
Right, absolutely right. So whenever we build our avionics or the subsystems that go into the satellite, we always try to keep the cost under our control, right? In fact, building a data center in space demands that kind of a control over your costs, and hence you definitely see where all you could cut them down, the costs. So have a commercially off the shelf, approach commercially off the shelf components. Then you look at designing and developing within your, by yourself. You tap into the ecosystem. There's several players that provide solutions and services, at least in engineering and manufacturing, that you could tap into. So the entire introduction of prototyping equipment has actually helped us, bring these costs down even further. So I'm sure every Indian company right now is building something hardware or deep tech because of the advantages the country and the ecosystem has. And you cannot keep frugality out of, your consideration, right? Because the situation demands it. Quite a few companies, quite a few nations also come to India to do business because of the low costs, right? Yeah. That is definitely an advantage that we should play to.
Okay, so that's the advantage, Shreya, that Anurag mentioned. Very quickly, on the same subject, what is, according to you, the biggest challenge, probably, when it comes down to the aspect of, capital, on cost, on, you spoke wonderfully well in terms of it's going to be a combination of a lot of things, but what are the challenges probably that it'll bring with it?
Yeah, so I think the challenges would be how to keep this sustainable. So it's not just about the rocket companies, but it's how do we keep developing this ecosystem with all the different problems that are to be solved in space, whether space infrastructure, robotics, satellites, managing the satellites in space, and things. All of these core technologies are important to be addressed. So that's where Could you repeat the question again?
The challenges. See, the cost factor is wonderful and nice.
Yes.
But as probably Anurag would probably understand it, he deals with it every day. What kind of challenges do you feel that the companies coming in the near future will have to face whilst being very mindful of the frugality and the cost aspect of it?
Yeah. So I think that they definitely have to think about the niche problem that they need to solve. So getting into this competitive ecosystem now that we have several companies already, I think what matters is how niche is the topic that they want to solve and what are the unique solutions that they are providing to achieve that success is something that they have to think a lot about. So, for example, if it's like AgniCool is trying to solve the reusable rocket,
and they're doing a wonderful
so that's
job of it.
something unique, right?
Yep.
Then if some other company is coming up, maybe they can look into liquid propulsion and how they can make it more efficient to have rockets rocket launches. The same goes for different satellites and robotic missions. What is the what technology, deep tech technology, they are trying to embed in these hardwares, and how they are solving it in a different way is the main challenge.
Quickly, Anurag, AgniCool is using reusability as a very strong cornerstone as far as their entire vision is concerned. What's Take Me to Space figuring out?
Right. Okay, wow. What are we trying to figure out?
I mean, you get my point.
Yeah, I do. So if it's reusability, that's going to be it. Then what is it for taking space? Several things I could mention. All right. Yeah, I'm ready. Just like AgniCool has picked reusability as one of their strengths, or that's the moat. For us, there are several factors. Right, when you keep the design and development in-house, I think that's definitely one of the core IPs that we unlock, because we're able to do a lot more.
Yeah.
Then the entire discussion about building a 1 gigawatt class data center in space is the goal. In fact, the steps that we take towards it are going to be super important.
Sure.
So building indigenously is definitely one thing that helps us, manage and control this entire process, not just for our own missions, but also it stands out as an advantage for customers from, let's say, other nations, right? Because they already know about the cost advantages. And this is one of the most obvious reasons why someone would come here. So that's one. And most importantly for us, onboard compute, orientation control and guidance, basically your GNC, radiation strategies, how do you deal with radiation and thermal management. These are essentially all pillars that support a data center in space. So I think, if I were to give it an umbrella term, it has to be compute in space. And the ones that I just mentioned happen to be the pillars that support it.
No, I think the fact that having research and development in-house is a huge advantage to have. I mean, you've got everything under your own control, from the cost, from the quality, from the efficiency, the list goes on. So wonderful. Great. I'll of course want to come to you again, Anurag, and then I'll come to you, Shreya. The fact that Skyroot's founders recently said this, the real challenge begins after reaching orbit. What are those challenges according to you, Anurag? I'll list them down. Is it reliability? Is it customers? Is it manufacturing, insurance, scaling?
Right. So once you reach to, your target orbit, right? Reliability is obviously, the biggest challenge because you have your, launch and early orbit phase where you commission the satellite and you're trying to ensure that everything that has gone inside the satellite is working.
Yep.
So this is where, number one, the mission that you designed this for is, it depends on the success of this test or this period. Once you've identified that everything that's gone inside this is reliable, that's when you know that, you have something to sell. I think there are enough customers already in the market. I don't think anyone gets into the business without having, a great SAM or SOM for that matter, right? So
sure.
That's already something that's been figured out. Scaling is definitely one super important thing, right? If you look at, all the new space companies in India right now, you just have a handful number of missions that they've done, or, they're just in their tech demo phase. But what happens after it? How do you ensure that the same quality, the same reliability, is being achieved time and again? I'm sure there are quite a few companies out there who are building constellations. So when you're talking about, let's say, tens, hundreds, or thousands of satellites,
sure.
Or objects that go into space and become assets, how do you ensure that none of them fail? How do you have a strategy to keep replacing them? How are you managing if you're contributing to, let's say, the junk in space, right? So these are several questions that everyone asks themselves. And thankfully, you do have solutions or companies for each of these questions that are already doing work around it. So, this is what I have to say about it.
So according to you, scaling is probably the toughest one, which logically then, Shreya, brings me to this, which is that what probably Anurag mentioned in the passing is India as a country perhaps underestimating how truly difficult it is to commercialize something. Because I think that's what Anurag is talking about. Because when you go into the aspect of the fact that you need to do this again and again, and with the same kind of, let's say, insurance, the same kind of repeatability, that is a commercialization. So are we underestimating it, or are we good?
I think we are still good with the commercialization sector, but we need to move faster in this, how to convert from technical feasibility or successful demonstrations to actual commercial viability. So, are we doing it repeatedly so that the supply chain is maturing, and if we have a more sustained customer base, if the regulatory policies are evolving along with the ways, along with these successes of launches or orbital missions. So this, all of these are important to take note of, and that's how we can go into commercial viability. We can definitely, we are not in a, I think
Fair enough. Fair point. In conclusion, it's honestly been fabulous. 18th of July was a moment we all embraced collectively as a nation. We applauded it. We want to applaud a lot more. Anurag, this time around, I'm hoping that you're front and center as far as that applause is concerned. But before we get into that, before I let both of you go, I need to ask you this. Realistically, SpaceX is now worth over $1 trillion in terms of valuation. Okay? India doesn't need $1 trillion company immediately, although it won't hurt, let's be honest. But can India realistically build multiple $50 to $100 billion space companies? Anurag, I'd like to come to you first. What has to happen for that to become a possibility?
Right.
And
number one,
I'll be asking you the final question.
Yeah. So number one, I believe, companies should be definitely participating more in discussions around policy to ensure that the regulation goes their way. and it's favorable for the entire industry. Second, when you focus on scaling, I'm sure you've identified enough partners, your entire supply chain ecosystem, or the strategies in which you scale a service or a product up, right? These definitely have to be studied quite well. And yeah, keep tapping into, your existing customers, get into new businesses, explore where opportunities are. Placing the right bets is something that every business does, and it should continue doing. So I believe these are some of the steps that you need to take to be building plenty of, let's say, multi-billion-dollar companies.
Fair enough. Very quickly, Shreya, technologically, where are the gaps and what needs to be done, if at all there are any?
So just to add to what Anurag mentioned, SpaceX is a great example to look into how market opportunities can actually be very beneficial, benefit the company. Like they started with rockets, now they are also into Starlink, satellites, and basically building a whole space infrastructure. They also have rockets for astronauts. So it's a great example to show that when you look into the different problems, so now we have certain problems to be solved in space. But as we start developing the technologies, as we start achieving different successes, we will be able to identify many more other problems. So being open to these challenges, being able to actually address these problems in different approaches, whether it's rockets or satellites or robots or just downstream data. So that's what is important. So we have to be open to these different new challenges that are coming up. And that's what will keep us self-sustained.
Fabulously said, both of you. Anurag, it's been a true pleasure. Shreya, it's been a true pleasure with the both of you bringing in all of the kinds of diverse views and points. Point Break was self-sustained today, in Shreya's words, as she ended it. Wonderfully done. Thank you so much. We'll, of course, would request you to come back onto the show again and again. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, two wonderful voices in the ecosystem who have constantly talked about celebrating what happened on the 18th of July. It truly was a momentous moment. And do you believe that India is all set and on the precipice of creating its own space in the big, vast ecosystem? Please do let us know. What are your thoughts in the comments below? This, ladies and gentlemen, is Point Break, only on EIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think EIM.